was a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say cult figure, but you know what I mean? Like he developed like a following. Yeah. So it wasn't just a football coach. Like people liked his little odd little whatevers he did. And, you know, he came off the Bo Schembechler tree and, you know, he had old school football coach stuff mixed in with just enough quirkiness, you know, for people like, hey, let's see what Les Miles is doing, you know. But the dark side or the whatever side, I guess really the white side,
right, exactly.
Is the case with these kinds of things is these people get raised higher and higher and higher till what was the line we said about the subprime mortgage situation? Too big to fail, right?
Yeah.
So there becomes this layer of protection, right?
Yep.
Well, did you hear some stuff? Yeah, I heard it too, but don't tell anybody, right? A lot of people said that what happened to Penn State, that things would change. Well, what changed was that people got smarter about trying. I mean, like that's what changed. Yeah. And he wasn't super smart, once again, about hiding his dirt or anything. Don't get me wrong about that. But people began to try to find ways to make sure there wasn't a paper trail or this trail or that trail or whatever it is. What's the old saying? Disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these extremely powerful men, and you know some women as well, but mostly it's a male thing, just because it's easier to get raised up that high if you're a man, quite frankly.
Exactly. Yeah. And
the layers of protection are thicker, right? If you're a man, and then especially if you're the right kind of man, right? When you're, you know, once again, a guy that has all the gravitas and all the right people say you're the right person, and then on top of that, like I said, just enough quirkiness, right? Right? You know, not you know, wacky, but just quirky, a little quirky. So you add all that sort of traditional tough guy football crap that
exactly
to it, just a little quirky. Harbaugh is also mastering this. In case you were also like working on getting this whole thing, like, yeah, I drink a tub of milk every morning or whatever. Right? I mean, whatever. But these guys get in a position where, once again, like we talked about with this, with you know the subprime mortgage thing, where we can't allow the bubble to burst because it'll blow us all up. There's so many people, because there's a whole ecosystem that grows up around somebody like Les Miles, right? You don't get to be where Les Miles is without having a bunch of people who are constantly holding you up and, frankly, you know, helping you to do the stuff you're doing. I mean, like
enabling you for sure.
You have to have enablers, a whole circle of enablers.
Yeah.
And when you look at any of these scandals, pick a scandal, right? Pick a scandal, any of them. The fun, I don't say fun part, that's probably the wrong word to use. But you know what I mean? But like if you look, the term I want to use is more fascinating. The fascinating thing to me is like the Ghislaine Maxwell's, right? Enabling Epstein or whoever. To me, they're the more interesting personality, is the enabler. Because they don't get all the payoff, but they got to do much more of the
work.
All the work, right? Oh, man, if I have to pay off another mistress, I'm exhausted.
I know.
Right? So I want to see two things. Who helped? I mean, because there was somebody helping. And will they make an actual commitment? They'll say all the right things. I probably do all the right things that we said. But will they make an actual commitment to change the way they hire? Because that's when I believe you, right? When you say from now on, we're going to have a different group of people involved in this. It's not just to be, you know, somebody's search firm that's getting $750,000 to tell us who the short list should be. And it's not going to be some pressure from the boosters to pick this one other guy on the list. When they do a truly different way of hiring, I mean really different, then I'll believe them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing we have to remember, Demetrius, is that he has left LSU. Now, this is a Kansas scandal. The AD of Kansas had to resign. Yeah. LSU is fine. LSU is fine. They've already, we knew, and you know.
LSU isn't even trying to. LSU is like, we know who we are. Say what you want. And so it goes to like Bill made great points that tell you when
he talked about the enabler. I mean, you know, like you say, LSU wasn't. They didn't try to hide it. It was right out front. I mean, you know, it was when Kansas hired him, they knew what they were getting.
That's the case. Did you do your due diligence? And if you did, you got what you paid for. I mean, the AD at LSU wanted to fire him back then. And I'm sure that was a good meeting. I'm sorry. What? This guy wins football games, and when you work for Louisiana State University, to Bill's point, you're gonna fire who? The highest paid official in this state, who's making us money by what? So what happens generally is, over time, these guys, because of all the things Bill said about being the highest paid person in the state, enablers, people around you, you forget what no sounds like, right? Because people just don't say no to you. So you just forget. I think you forget, or you just get comfortable. And so then the rules in your mind get shaded. Yep. And you think, sure, I'm a university official, but so what if I want to take a student behind a building and make out with her? A reasonable person would know that that's a horrible idea, right? And you don't remember. I just think they don't remember, and I think these guys fall into that. Some of it is just people have put you up on a pedestal since you were with Les Miles. It's been from the Schembechler tree, 20 years, whatever. Les Miles doesn't know what no sounds like. Certainly not when he's in a position of authority and it's a 18, 19, 20-year-old young lady. Come on. So that is the thing that is frightening, because everything Bill said is dead on, which is, you got people facilitating this, right? And the cover up is the work. And there are people, I don't even know if I think LSU just said, okay, he didn't have sex with him and he didn't break a law. That's the standard at LSU.
Well, wait a minute, hold it, guys. Yeah, I think there's a couple other points that you're missing. During this time that he was in LSU, there were other coaches fired for the same offenses.
Oh yes, and how many of them were playing in the Sugar Bowl?
Right. That's right. Yeah. You look at the revenue that the football program brings LSU, and that's your answer. That's my short answer. Whatever the revenue is that the football program brings to that university is the answer to this question. It's a great conversation, but that's to Bill's point. He's the highest paid person in the state of Louisiana. That's it. It's horrible. It's horrible. We're laughing, horrible. But it's horrible because he's a teacher. He's supposed to be a mentor. And these are, I mean, I know they're legally adults.
Guys was like, see, there's my mentor.
Exactly. And there are guys who will say that. You will hear guys, and there are guys already coming out now defending him, talking about what he did for them and the kind of guy he is. I'm sorry. I'm going to listen to the two girls. Right now, I kind of want to listen to the two girls. You're like 58, 60-year-old man. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't. But again, it's funny that LSU doesn't. It's like, okay, whatever. We got a game to prep for.
They almost literally said that, Demetrius. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just say one word: stereotypes.
Oh,
the South. I mean, that's
all that.
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
stereotypes come from a place. I mean, like it's not okay, but
they're stereotypes for a reason.
They come from somewhere.
Right.
Maybe I'm just too old, man. I'm thinking about dirty old man. I think of Chester and Molester and Hustler magazine. It's like,
it's like a teenage deal, though, right? You drive around a building and. Wow, that's so like high school. We can't go back to my parents' house.
Entirely high school, right? and like I promise you that Les Miles can afford to take you someplace nice.
Comfort Inn or something. You're Les Miles. What are you doing? But maybe Les Miles can't do that. But he should have a separate house if you're going to do that. Right?
Where can you go without being known?
Right, that's true.
You know, I mean,
Les Miles.
I guess that might be a bigger
I love how we're trying to figure out how he could have better executed. We're trying to figure out how he could have done it better.
Mexico action.
How could he have done it better?
You could have taken IHOP somewhere.
That was Tiger Woods' thing. Was the IHOP?
Yeah, that's
back in the day.
I love it.
Hey man, sometimes I just like, it's like.
I mean, look, we're all in this particular case, we're all men, and we know that men are pigs. But most men who are pigs, even powerful pigs, say to themselves, "Is this worth it?" Right?
Yeah.
And some of them clearly decide the answer is yes. I guess roll the dice. But even I can't do it. I try to put myself in a headspace where it's like, I just can't. You know what I mean?
It's really cool watching a really smart dude try and figure out something really stupid.
Okay,
it's great.
Let's hypothetically suppose LSU had beat Alabama.
We would know about this. I guess this wouldn't have come out, man. This only came out because they didn't. We would have no idea.
If Les Miles wins a national championship, I mean, I just hope no harm comes to those young ladies. That's all I can say. I mean, like, and I'm half joking when I say that. Half joking when I like 50%, like exactly 50%, because there's a 50% of me. If you've seen the kind of stuff that people write and send and mail, and towards the end of is it Mark Richt? There was some coach where they killed one of their pets. I mean, it was just insanity. Yeah. Like, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what happens when someone goes 7-5. You're murdering pets. I mean,
think about the guy who poisoned the trees on the campus of all
the tree poisoning.
Alabama tree poisoner.
Yes, the fighting tree poisoners. Yes.
I mean, we love sports. The three of us love sports, but come on now. Come on. You got to have a line, don't you? That's crazy.
Right. You have to have a line, and then you have to have someone that tells you where it is sometimes, because some people.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, of course, it's probably not allowed today, but I remember, when we used to go and steal the other team's mascot, or maybe.
I mean, that's just good fun. Like, I'm not getting mad at that. Yeah. When the Navy goat gets taken or whatever, like I'm not weeping about that. But when people are like sending threatening text messages to people's 10-year-old daughters because they lost a game, I mean,
right?
What? Yeah. Like, what is she gonna do? First of all, she's an 8th grader. Like, that's my first question. Like, what?
What's your goal? What's your goal to terrorize the 8th grade?
So you put pressure on your little cousin who happened to have her cell number, so you can text her that you were upset about this game and you were going to threaten her. So she's going to make sure that you guys have better safety rotation.
Right.
Like, what is it you're thinking this 8th grade girl is going to do? Look, I know fan is short for fanatic. I promise I get that, right? I do. I promise I understand that. And I was at one point in my life as passionate a sports fan as anyone could be. But at no point did it occur to me to harm someone or to harm someone. I've seen games that I felt like I got punched in the stomach when, you wander around in a haze, you hate life. I get all that. Like, that part's kind of normal if you're a serious fan. But it never should get to the point where it's like, how can I ruin someone else's?
Right.
Like, if that's where you're taking it, maybe you need to put the sports down.
Right. Exactly. If you somehow like harmful mischief, fans in East Lansing have to guard the Sparty statue every night before the Michigan game. Yes. We know they're coming with their blue and yellow paint. That's cool. That's fine. Right. I mean, they're not going to be successful, but whatever. They can keep trying. But if you're talking about, you can process, because a healthy mind can process, that wasn't a face mask. How did you give the Packers an extra down for Aaron Rodgers to throw a Hail Mary and beat us, right? I'm not thrilled. At no point am I thinking I need to go harm another individual. Not even the ref that called the bogus face mask, whose name I don't know, but I could get it if I want to, right? But I can Google, I can find out. So if you're a healthy human being, you just process it. You remember it. You don't forget it. Like, I'm talking about it 6 years later, but you process it somehow. You move on with your life. You don't sit down and reasonably plot doing harm to an 8th grader. Healthy people don't do that.
No. Speaking of healthy people, Demetrius, up until last night, Duke was playing basketball. Now Duke is out. Probably out of the tournament for the first time in many, many, many years.
30 plus years. No, wait. There was the 1 year that Coach K was out the back.
Yeah.
So since then,
So, are we doing enough to protect these young kids from COVID? And or I mean, is this kind of like the all-star game where I mean it's March Madness, so we're gonna play regardless?
Yeah. So we know the answer, right? We're going to be honest. I feel comfortable enough with you guys now that we're going to be honest. That thing is billions with a B, capital B, like Bravo, right? Billions of dollars. They're going to play that tournament. So my answer to your question is no. But there's a degree of you have to protect the kids from themselves. I bet if you ask any kid on any team in the country, are you willing to take this risk? They're going to say, yeah. This is like their dream, and that's hard. I get it, but at some point, the adults have to step up. A part of me wants to go conspiracy theory and say this is some nonsense, so they can have an excuse for why Duke didn't make the tournament. They can say it was COVID and not just that Duke sucked. But I'm not going to do that because this is about kids, and this is bigger than basketball. Every now and then. And to the point we were just making, perspective needs to come in, right? At some point, you have to go, let me be a reasonable human being. We're getting there. I got a shot already, right? I'm one of the lucky ones so far, and I think that we are almost there. There's a light. There's a light at the end of this tunnel. We can see the light, but we still got work to do. We still got my target is 4th of July. I want to have an old school 4th of July. And I think by then we'll have enough shots in arms and the numbers should tell us that it's safe. But I also work in quality assurance. So I'm a slave to stats and data. I need to see a lot of data, but we're not there yet. We want to be, but at the end of the day, you can't put those kids in danger and you can't ask some other team to go out and play basketball with them. Not now, not yet, not yet. Not yet. So I think this is the right move. The NCAA, they lost out on that money last year. They're not doing this again. That number is just too big. It's just too big.
Bill, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think you asked the question is, are we doing enough to protect them? No. Now, if the follow-up would be, we're doing a lot, right? Yeah. But as Demetrius just pointed out, they're doing as much as they can while still making sure they make that money.
Gotta get their bread. Yeah.
Money. Right. So I think we've seen demonstrated to us in multiple ways for quite some time, but it's becoming clearer to us now. And now with some of the things that are finally being pushed through in terms of legislation, where they're going to maybe not break the shackles on the student athlete, but loosen the shackles on the student athlete.
Yeah.
Who here remembers Jeremy Bloom? He was an Olympian in freestyle. What do you call that? It's on a not skateboard, but it's in the snowboard. That's right. There you go, Bill. He was an Olympic snowboarder, and he had a football scholarship to the University of Colorado.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And he ended up being part of a long and protracted lawsuit, lost his scholarship because they wouldn't let him take money to defray his training and travel expenses.
Yeah.
So they said, you can either give up your Olympic dream or give up your Colorado football scholarship. Yeah. Well, he likes football a lot, but the Olympics are the Olympics. So he had to leave school halfway through his sophomore year, made the Olympic team, did not medal, but was, good, solid snowboarder. After a few years after that, maybe 3 years later, the Eagles brought him in as an free agent, had to bounce around the league a little bit. Yeah. I think he would have had a very different outcome if the NCAA had decided just somewhat arbitrarily, because if I'm a minor league baseball player, if I'm John Elway, or I'm Russell Wilson, they've got no problem with me having a summer job, or Ricky Wilson, or Ricky Williams, or even AJ Brown, right?
Yep.
Having a part-time summer job that pays me hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Not a big deal, no problem. But if I take $1,800 in travel expenses from a board wax company, got to get back that Scully. It's a great.
It's so arbitrary. It's so ridiculously arbitrary. Yeah.
So what we know about the NCAA is we have no idea why they do what they do, except when there's money involved. And then we know why they do what they do. Right. NCAA tournament goes, right, exactly. So they're going to have that tournament. Jay, if a student literally exploded on the court, they would have fallen off the court. There'd be a moment of remembrance, maybe a little video, right? We honor his sacrifice, and then they toss that ball up.
Timeout, sideline inbounds. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, one of the things that lets you know how concerned they are is that you only have to have 5 men show up on your team. That's it. That's it. If you got 5, we can play. I mean, what is it, schoolyard now? Hey man, but hey,
they're gonna find a way to get this tournament for sure.
Oh yes, I promise you that.
Yeah,
but it's all about sportsmanship and
the lessons these people learn are lifetime lessons. Like big bag take little bag. That's a lifetime lesson.
Exactly. We've all known that lesson for a long time.
Gentlemen, has Sean Miller coached his last game at Arizona? Bill?
Not officially. I mean, there's no announcement. However, are you asking me to give you like betting handicap numbers, whatever? If you can get someone to give you like close to even odds, like if you can put down 8 to make back 550, do it. If that's what you're asking me, yes, bet that he will not be back. No, it's not official, but yes, if you're asking me to advise you, if you're thinking about investing a little money in some, coach's job wagering, if there is wagering on that, there probably is because you can bet on anything. Well, I don't know why I even asked that question. But yes, if you can put down 8 and make back 550, yeah, go ahead, do it. That's basically money.
Yeah, and I think it's probably better odds than that, because what happens in my what I've seen is like so Dr. Robbins, the school president, did this deal where he says, I'm not sure I can get a contract extension past the Board of Regents, right? He played the whole Board of Regents game. You know what, Dr. Robbins? If Sean Miller is the coach you want and the coach you think is right, that's your job. Is to convince the Board of Regents, is to talk them into it, cajole them, bribe them, because you got boosters who will give you the money to bribe them if you need to. So this whole idea of, well, I'm at the mercy of the Board of Regents. No, you're not.
A simple
right.
president.
Exactly. All I am is the president of the university. I don't have any clout around here. Here's the thing. The boosters love Sean Miller. They do. Yep. And that's the problem he's going to have, because quietly he wants to move on, right? But he's dealing with a university whose athletic department is cash flow light right now. And that's the problem he has, because the way you rectify a cash flow problem in your athletic department is boosters. And if they support Sean Miller, which all indications are they do, but you think it's time to move on, which there's a case that could be made, 12 seasons. He's got no Final Fours. He's got 7 or probably been to the tournament 7-8 times. Well, the last 2 years didn't count. They're on a suspension or ban this year and COVID last year. So he's probably got a pretty, he's in the tournament. Sean Miller's a good basketball coach. He won't be out of work long, put it that way. He won't be out of work that long. But if you've decided to move on, you should just step up and say, as a school president, we're moving on. It's actually your job. You can just let him go and hire somebody else. I don't even think you have to run that by the Board of Regents. So this whole Board of Regents thing is kind of funny to me. Is that guy trying to be like, oh, don't kill the messenger? And who the hell are we supposed to kill? Right? You assume the risk of death when you took the job of being the messenger. Don't come and say don't kill the messenger. That's what happens to the messenger. So I think if he wanted him to stay, he would. So I'm with Bill. I don't think the president wants him, and I think that makes it tough. Because how dicey is it if somehow he's back after the school president has made it clear that he doesn't want him back? That's a nice meeting. That should be fun. So yeah, I would bet he's gone too. If I had to put any money that mattered to me, I'd say he's gone. But he won't be out of work long.
No.
Bill, it's kind of like being the point man in the new platoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very much like that.
You know, okay, guys, you know.
Right. That's the
I'm
job.
right behind you. This is right behind you, but right behind you.
Right. You probably can't see me, but I'm back here.
Oh man, you know, the reminders I get sometimes.
It happens.
Yeah. Let's see, guys. Okay. We'll start with you this time, Dimitri. Michigan
Great.
will be the third seed in the dance. Yay or nay? The third number one seed.
Oh,
so in case you forgot, I bleed green and white, so I don't actually appreciate you asking me this Michigan question. I'm gonna try and set all my bias aside, noting we beat them last Sunday. But I'm not going to talk about
as did ILLINI.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that if they get upset tomorrow, I guess you could have a conversation, right? Because that would be 3 losses in 4 games, and you have people who do the recency bias thing, right? And they'll say they're not playing well right now. The reality, though, is that a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament should be a reward and recognition for 4 months of basketball. And as much as it makes my stomach turn to say it, they have been one of the best 4 teams in all of college basketball for the last 4 months. If Eli Brooks is healthy, they have a legitimate chance to win the whole thing. They're that good. Now, Illinois beat them soundly. We handled them Sunday, so they can be beaten. I think with a healthy Eli Brooks, they're a really good team. I mean, Illinois beat them down. That was beat down. Ours was kind of they were at Breslin and we got them. And I think their other loss was to Minnesota. Now, it's a tough league, first of all. That is a tough – those are not shabby losses. Minnesota's top 25. Illinois is one of the top 6, 7 teams in the country, 5 maybe. And anytime they come to Breslin, we got a shot because it's the in-state thing. But if the number 1 seed is truly recognizing over the course of the season who are the top 4 teams, they deserve it. They should get it. And I think they will, because I think they're probably going to, at minimum, get to Saturday. Probably to Sunday, but we'll see. I didn't look at the brackets. I still think a healthy Illinois team can beat them on a neutral floor. Not sucking up the bill. I think a healthy Illinois team can beat them on a neutral floor. Because I've watched it, but Michigan State beat Illinois too. So I do have to mention that in the spirit of fairness. But when both of their guys are healthy, they are a tough out because the big man is no joke. And they got an NBA caliber guard. And I'll let Bill tell you his name because I can't pronounce it. So that kid's an NBA player. So to answer your question is yes, they should be a number 1 seed. Actually, I think both they and Illinois should be number 1 seeds, quite frankly. I don't know if they'll do that. The Big Ten Conference doesn't generally get that kind of love unless Tom Izzo and the Spartans are up there. But I think they both should be number 1 seeds.
Well, we're going to address that second part too.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun on you.
After I asked Bill about this, Michigan is Michigan the 3rd number 1 seed, Bill? I
mean, it's not a mortal lock, but they have I'd say better than 50% chance. Yeah. And as was pointed out, they have a good blend of young and old, right? So the teams that have the best chance to prosper nowadays, whatever term we want to use, you're going to get the occasional Butler where everybody on the team is 21, 22 years old, right? Right? That's going to happen occasionally. But the ones that have the best chance to make it all the way are these teams that have 4 and 5 stars, some, one and done kids mixed in for flavor. They're not the Calipari thing where everybody's gone in 1 year, right? You're reloading all the time, right? Where you have like a couple of guys who walked on, so you can say you had some guys who graduated when the NCAA asked, "How did you graduate?" Well, Kyle did, right? But they have that. Michigan has size. Michigan has ball handling. Michigan has shooting. When everything's clicking, they are a top 3 or 4 team in the country.
Yeah.
However, can they be? Yes, they do not like being pressured, right? Even though they're pretty good ball handling, they're not fans of being, if you can press correct, right? Which is kind of a lost art, actually, but the teams that do still understand. I mean, Nolan Richardson would be turning over his grave if you saw how some people try nowadays. But the teams that actually do understand it, like the right principles, when to, you don't just press to be pressing, right? It's supposed to affect the other team.
Yeah,
not just doing it to show that you're hustling. Hey, look how much energy we're expending. No, it should be about, hey, are you creating opportunities to get turnovers? Are you taking their offense? The teams that actually understand how to do that will give them trouble. Decision making is one of those things that no one's born knowing how to do, and you only get it through making a bunch of decisions. That's how you get good at decision making. That's why I can't get excited about quarterbacks that haven't played much football. That's why I always get nervous about teams, even if they have a very talented backcourt, if it's a very young backcourt. Yeah. But they've got just enough, just to, so are they old guys superstars? Not really. I mean, Isaiah Livers, hey, go out there and do your thing. Brandon Wade, but he steady the team, right? Mike Smith is kind of happy to be there, but he's a guy that's been around the block. Rico Ozuna-Harrison's another sort of old guy. Well, by modern basketball standards, an old guy. Yeah. And Andre Brown Jr., another old guy, right? Who came to them by way of Wake Forest. So those guys all have a lot of experience. And of course, Luke Wilson, right? Yeah. Who's your classic. He's exactly what you think he, like, if you just hear the name Luke Wilson and you imagine a basketball name Luke Wilson, you got it right. That's exactly, you nailed it. He's exactly what you're picturing.
He is Luke Wilson.
Yes, he's exactly what you're thinking. Basketball player named Luke Wilson. But they have glue. Glue is the term we use now in the NBA. Glue guys. So they aren't just, once again, the Calipari thing where it's a bunch of all-stars. They have glue guys. Another team that has sort of mastered this to some extent, and I guess we're going to discuss them at some point, of course, going out west. It's funny because remember they were just a scrappy program out in Spokane,
Washington. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. John Stockton went there. Like for a long time, I was like,
that's what it was. It was John Stockton School. Right.
Right. Oh, hey, they're in the tournament. Wow. They made it to the round of 16. Right. Well, all that stuff's over. They are a monster now. Like there's all that cute little program stuff. They're no longer like a Butler feel-good story. None of that. They are a freaking monster. Yeah. I will not be surprised. I don't think they'll just run through the tournament. It's not going to be like UNLV the year before they lost to Duke, where like they were just slapping people around.
It was over. Yeah, it was over.
Don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't be shocked if they made it with maybe one little scare and actually were playing in the championship game and maybe even, I won't say winning easily, but a semi-comfortable win against. It's matchups are
Baylor's going to give them a game.
Right. That's what
everybody else. I think you might be right. I want to see them in Baylor. That's what I want to see.
Everybody wants that, and they were scheduled to play each other.
Yep.
And then I guess COVID. I can't remember what it was that happened, but I know that they were scheduled, but didn't. And that was the like, it's like when they'd be like an Errol Spence, Bud Crawford fight scheduled.
Exactly.
Oh, somebody broke their hand. Oh my God! It's sort of like that. Like, I guess it was just to whet our appetites for the tournament. So hopefully neither of them gets just knocked off early. But yes, Michigan is deserving, which is, I guess, what you asked me, way back when.
Well, I don't know if I should start with this, Bill. We only got a few more minutes. Well, no. Bill, should the Big Ten possibly have 2 number 1 seeds then?
I mean, once again, I'm going to try to ignore the fact that I got my master's degree from Richmond, Illinois.
Come on, don't let me down. We go there.
Now, as much as I enjoy watching them be good again for the first time, and they've been good, but be this kind of good, the kind of good where they could conceivably be trouble in the tournament, like deep trouble. Yeah. I mean, the D Brown and what's his name teams were fun, but I never saw them as a real threat to go all the way. What's the name? The big point guard who the Jazz drafted. Whatever. But they've had.
Are you thinking like the Nick Anderson and?
No, not going back that far.
Okay.
That's a million years ago.
Okay.
No, the run they had, I think Bill Self was there, and they had those a nice backcourt, both of whom, 2 guards that played a little bit. One of them was a high draft pick, though. Andre, it's killing me. Big, he was a big kind of soft-bodied, light-skinned point
Philadelphia.
guard.
Yep. He played for Philadelphia. I know you're talking
about. Yeah. He played for a couple of different teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, the point is they were good, but they weren't this kind of good. Like this team can do more different things.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to say. This team can do more different things. This is the best defensive team they've had in going back to the Flying Illini.
Yeah.
This is the best defensive team they've had in a very long time. Yeah. And they can get their scoring different ways. They can score on the inside. They can score from the perimeter. They are athletic. They can run. Everybody can run. Their big people can run. They're little, of course, your little people. Barely people run. Why are you out there? But I mean, they can put out 5 people at every position who can, if you're just running down the court, can outrun the person on the other team at their position.
Yeah.
So that's part of what makes them fun to watch, is that when they get going, it just go. Yeah. They're not super deep. Their bench. How do I put this? Their bench sometimes plays great, though, right? You know what I mean? Like but it's not. You can't hang your hat on it. Like you don't have a known quantity. There's no. It's not like Ray Allen coming off the bench for the Heat. They don't have that. They don't have that guy that you can count on. But they have guys that will occasionally come out of nowhere and give you 16 points off the bench.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the Lakers bench. That's what you're saying.
Yes, they've got some Alex Caruso types. Yes, that's actually pretty accurate.
Always goes back to Alex Caruso.
As all things do. There's a book about how all things are Caruso. But yeah, correct.
I like the fact that, though, most of the time when they're on the court, I think through the first 2 weekends, they're going to have the 2 best players on the court most of the time. Coburn and DeSumo, they're going to have the 2 best players on the court. So strictly on talent, they should get through the second weekend, or at least to the second Sunday, right? Sure. Then it becomes about this tournament. You can go back to Danny Manning, Carmelo Anthony. If your best player plays his best, he can carry you literally all the way, like to net cutting time. And they have 2 guys who have the potential to do that. Because Coburn can be dominant. He can be dominant. There's only a couple teams in this country that have players that are going to be able to contain him. So that's the thing about them that scares me. I mean, we got lucky and Coburn didn't play well and the guard got hurt. So I think that's how we got him. So I like him. I like him because if you always have one of the 2 or 3 best players, you got a shot. And all you need is your best guy to play his best. And if that happens, because to me, after Gonzaga and Baylor, it's a crapshoot.
Yep.
I thought those 2 teams are kind of just slightly above everyone else. Baylor for defense and Gonzaga for like completeness offensively. And to Bill's point earlier, Gonzaga's not an old team, but they're an experienced team. And Mark Few has built a juggernaut. His point is great. Gonzaga is a juggernaut. So I love Gonzaga and Baylor. I'd like to see that game. Baylor knows how to press, like he talked about Nolan Richardson. Certain players you can trap, certain ones you can't. Certain places on the court you should trap, certain times of the game. They understand all those concepts. Baylor is really athletic and really good defensively. So that's going to be a great game. I think Illinois has a chance with DeSumo. If he starts playing his best basketball, they can play with anybody, including those 2 teams I mentioned. He's that good. He's an NBA player.
Now, guys, this is something that is not on, the script. But
you're gonna throw a curveball.
Well, it's not really a curveball, because I don't even think it makes money anymore. I think it's just a matter of prestige. But wouldn't this be a good year to get rid of the NIT?
Oh,
you can't get rid of it.
Do to you.
Right. The NIT used to be such a big deal. And I really want to just defer the bill to give us.
It used to.
I mean, literally, it was the tournament. It was the tournament.
Yeah, but that was when I was your age.
That's true. You were younger than my age. So I think, though, that there is still maybe not. It's probably kind of an East Coast thing now. I think
it's not profitable.
It's not profitable. Yeah, there's no money in it, and that's sad. That's what we're talking about, because it should be more about the prestige. Because in the 50s and probably into the 60s, that's the championship everybody wanted. That's the tournament. I don't even know if the other tournament existed back then. You guys can let me know, but you're right. It's not profitable. It's not making anybody any money. Nobody. Not the TV networks. It's not making the universities any money. So yeah, you may be right.
And not only that, but who won the NIT last year?
There you go. I knew you were going to do that. Yeah, that you are right. You are totally right.
Bill?
Yeah, so
I think the NIT should survive in some form, but maybe it shouldn't happen at the same time as the NCAA because there's a reason that the USFL was doing okay until it tried to play in the fall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's you gotta know your limitations.
Yeah.
And yes, if it were 1958, was out there killing it, baby.
Right.
And
11-year-old James King. So, come on, let's go NIT.
It was around the time that like Cassie Russell and
I
was
11 in 1958.
There you go.
I remember.
Right. So it was around the So it was around the time that
I was watching a bunch of white guys.
You were
in short shorts, super short shorts, throwing up hook shots, bank shots,
set shots.
Rups runts. Yes.
Right.
The issue that the NIT we've all kind of said it is that there's been a massive and obvious loss of prestige, and it used to be like St. John's used to brag about the fact that they had won 5 NIT titles. Now it's they're almost like,
right. What are those trophies? Don't worry about those.
So it shows you how the game has changed.
Yeah.
I mean,
World War II. I mean,
I wonder though, because the 4-Letter Network airs those games. Maybe we're wrong in that if they managed it well, get everybody to one site, reduce travel, and simplify this thing, it could be profitable. Honestly, don't know. I'm thinking about it now because they're still on. I pass those games when I'm going to watch old episodes of Murder, She Wrote. So I know they're on. I know they're on, but I don't watch them. So if the 4-Letter is cutting them a check, I mean, me, you, and Bill could put together a 16-team field and do something if they just want some games.
But isn't it kind of like let's see. I don't even know what to compare it to. I mean, like you said, it's not profitable. No one,
nobody cares is what you're trying to say, right? It's not prestigious. Nobody gives a damn.
Right.
It's not part of your recruiting pitch when you go out there to the kids. Because then you have to explain what the NIT is.
Right.
It goes all down a
What's
bad
the
place.
NIT? Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting that the 4th pick in 2026.
Exactly. When you probably will have been fired already.
Right. Just something I was just thinking about.
That's a good curveball. It's sad though, because NIT used to be a big deal. It's kind of if you're an old head, like probably all three of us, in terms of sports, we remember stuff like that, and it used to be a big deal.
Right. Even into the late 70s, it would be like, okay, we didn't win the AA, but we won the NIT.
Yeah.
It would be one of those things that they would look at the next year when they were putting together these NCAAs. Well, you did win the NIT last year.
Right. It would help you get into the day.
Maybe you need to be in. So there was a time, even not a million years ago, when people still kind of sort of cared. I mean, there used to be a consolation game. Now, I guess we're all old. Like, so people, I try to explain this to young people, they think I'm lying.
Right.
After the Super Bowl, it was a consolation game. People are like, no. Look it up. Like they straight out think I'm lying. Like, no. And then tell them about the college all-star game versus the, it's like, no, pros playing against college kids. Yeah, until like the 70s, man. It stopped a million years ago.
Right.
I think the last one was here in Chicago in like 72 or 73.
Wow.
But people think I'm crazy. No, look it up.
72, I was hadn't probably been home a year yet. Yeah.
You were watching NIT. You were reacclimating, watching NIT.
Right, because nothing welcomes a person back to normalcy better than the NIT.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing says welcome home, soldier, like the NIT.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay.
All right, we got that. He's like, wait a minute. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
That's the Sports Crib after dark.
Right. That's the late night Sports Crib. Right?
I just go back from 2 tours of Vietnam. I'm sure I don't even know who won the NIT in 70.
They were probably a pretty darn good team, you know.
Right.
I probably don't remember sitting in front of the TV in 1972. Man, but anyway, let's move on here because I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna get even a little more blasphemous here.
Oh,
Bill,
all right.
Bill, is it time for the NFL to get rid of the franchise tag?
That's not blasphemous. That's fantastic. But no, it's never going to happen. I would love to see that happen, but you know what? There seems to be sort of a circular thing happening. You want to guess why that's not going to happen? You want to guess? We'll take a little stab. So we were talking previously about DeMaurice Smith, right? Was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago. Yeah. About confidence and competence and what's going on. So the franchise tag is one of those things where they present it. It sounds like, wow, right? What? You're going to be a franchise tag, right? And then, but what you realize, and of course, obviously it depends on where you are in your career, but you begin to realize this is the team's way of telling you, we really want you to play for us for a year. Like that's what they're telling you. We really want you. So much going to pay you a lot of money to play for us for 1 year. We really want you for this year, though. This 1 year.
Yeah.
And either they want you to quote unquote prove it, right? They're required to prove it, or no matter what you do, they're moving on from you. That's right. And I mean, obviously, I'm generalizing because sometimes the franchise tag is just sort of a placeholder while they're working on a long-term deal. So I don't want to make like that's always the case. But in some of these cases, the team is telling you, we really, really like you for a very short amount of time. That's what right? I mean, that's the whole point of it. Yeah. The whole point of it is we're going to pay you at the very top of your profession, in a profession where people are well paid. But we just don't see it. Imagine if you got down on one knee, Demetrius, or you even, James, if you still are in the marrying mood, and you say, I want to spend the next year with you. And you present them with this beautiful diamond, right?
1 year.
Beautiful. 8 carats. It's princess cut. It's set in a beautiful, classy platinum, ring and all this stuff. Maybe a couple of little like small sapphires around it. It's a nice setting and everything. It's beautiful. It's well done. At the end of the year, I'm going to consider my other options. But
right.
This year with you, just you. I love you this year.
I'm going to love you super hard for 1 year. You're getting all of me for the next 365. That's crazy. I think they would. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please. I mean, I was basically finished.
Yeah. So I think what happened is, and I don't actually not like it. I actually think there's a bright spot for it. But what it really is they decided to put in a failsafe for when they screw up and mismanage their cap and make all kinds of dumb personnel decisions. They put in a way to try and save themselves. But what has happened is I think it's turned into a deal where, other than the rare occasion, it actually screws the team. Because it's the worst. Like the Lions are a good example this year. They were jammed up because they set these rookie contracts. And the reality is guys hit their prime right as those contracts end, right? So if you've mismanaged your cap or you decide to rebuild, you can't pay Kenny Galladay $19 million. I love Kenny Galladay. I'm a big Kenny Galladay fan. We can't pay Kenny Galladay $19 million. Therefore, we can't tag him because that's going to be the number. He turned down $18 million last summer. If we tag him now, we got to pay a receiver. One receiver, $18 million when the cap has come down. And we're only going to win 6 games next year.
So that's 10% of your cap.
Exactly. One guy, right? And what happens is then if you really are stupid, like the Washington football team, you end up paying Kirk Cousins an ungodly amount of money over 3 years because you can't draft and you don't have a quarterback. And Kirk Cousins is a Spartan. Love him. Go green, go white. Cha-ching. Kirk Cousins should be in jail. He should be in jail. That's got to be against the law in some state to steal like that. Dak right now, Dak benefited from that tag. Dak just got paid because that tag, Dallas couldn't tag him. They couldn't afford to tag him, so they had to cut him a check. Right? And they're all smiling and happy now. And we'll get to that. But strictly on the franchise tag. The franchise tag was initially designed to help teams bounce back when they make stupid mistakes. And it turns out that outside of the rare occasion where some guy gets hurt, and I can't think of a really good player who's gotten hurt on the tag and didn't still get signed. Dak was on it last year, blew out his leg, still just got 160, right? So I don't know. I don't think it's a negative. It's good for the really good players. There's probably a bunch of guys that are not as good who hate the franchise tag because it does limit movement. But as a fan, we have asked for limitation of movements. I want my players to stay with my team. And I'm a guy who got all of Barry Sanders, all of Calvin Johnson until they decided to go on, right? And without that tag, they would have been playing in other jerseys. And that's my worst nightmare. It would have been seeing Barry Sanders in another jersey. So I think the franchise tag.
You win a Super Bowl with Denver?
No, exactly. So I think that it is in this. Wait, is it? There's a Denver guy just joined the call. I haven't met him yet.
Right, that's true. At some point, if you guys had not had your hooks in the Bears, he would have been amazing in that offense.
So I will say, because we haven't met, nice to meet you, Clint. And I'm glad Barry Sanders never signed with the Broncos. So back to the franchise tag. I think it was initially a mechanism the owners put in place to try and protect them from themselves. Yep. And they have continued to demonstrate their ineptitude at managing salary caps and rosters, and it has screwed them way more than it's helped them. And my team is no different, because I would love to still have Kenny Galladay, but it was the right move. Brad Holmes made the right move. You could not give Kenny Galladay $19 million. You
can't give one player, and he's a very good player, but that one player, like, it's one thing if it's Pat Mahomes, and even then I would to give him 10% of
we're going to talk about the impact of that later.
Yeah. Right. Yes, we're going to talk about all that. But Bill, let's let the new guy on the block come
please.
In.
Let's do it.
Clint, yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Glad to have you on the Sports Crib. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, other than that we already know, is that we see that Denver logo there.
I love the way he reps. That's awesome.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I run the Daily Dose Sports podcast, and we have been going now. We just finished our 6th year anniversary. Touch a little bit of everything in sports. Obviously, have a little bit of a Denver flavor here, but we've been doing it for a little while. So same thing.
I'm a Cowboy fan. You can see
right. Yeah. You got to be thrilled with those Cowboys right now, Ben. So we've got Steelers, we've got Detroit fan, and Bill.
Wu-Tang.
Of course. I understand.
I was born in Philadelphia, but I grew up in Virginia and North Carolina. Okay. But like James, and I don't know what James' origin story is, but I remember it's one of those things. Everyone has that sports memory that they'll have till they die.
Yes.
So my 5th birthday, you didn't. Once again, it's not like today when there's like a million different games you might get. You got 2 games, and you got your 2 games, and then Monday Night Football, right? And sometimes you might get 3 depending upon what things are going on. But so in the what used to be AFL, now the AFC game.
Yeah,
I saw a thrilling comeback, 28-34 victory, and I hated the Raiders. Like, I didn't know much. I was a kid. I didn't know much about football. I knew I hated the Raiders, and so the Steelers had this dramatic come from behind, and they were getting just beaten badly early in the game by the Raiders. The Raiders were outplaying them like distinctly, and they had this rather ludicrous comeback, win 34-28, and I was like, huh. So, I was a free agent in those days in terms of the AFC, because there was no AFC team really anywhere close in those days.
Sure.
Miami's not close, right? And then New York teams are not close. My dad was a Colts fan. That was like the close team in terms of AFC. And he grew up rooting for the Colts because at the time, the Washington team, he called the Whiteskins because when my dad was growing up, they were just that. They were all white.
White only,
last team to integrate. So, that was not going to be a good fit in my household. So that's how he ended up becoming a Steelers fan. But I'll become more of just a fan of football. And Wu-Tang.
Well, that goes without saying, of course.
Exactly.
I understand. No, I'm born and raised Denver, Colorado. So, you came out. That's just what you did. Right. But I'm going back to those days and that was one of the things that really intrigued me about when I was reading, stuff that you talk about on the podcast. I know right now, especially the younger crowd, I know that sports only existed, I think, just since COVID. Like, I don't even think it existed before that. I struggle with that, fellas. I struggle with the idea. Hey, Tom Brady, the GOAT, I guess. Yeah, sure.
I do the same thing I do with Bill Russell. The most accomplished.
The most accomplished. I'm right there with you. The most decorated. Could he have done what Terry Bradshaw did in those days against those Raider teams? I don't know. I don't know if he could have. Because that was a different
because the Raiders used to clothesline people.
Are you talking about Bradshaw's first year? Because he damn near got killed his first year.
Well, he almost didn't make it. No was going to go with the other guy, right?
It took really until about 74 before he had it around pretty good.
Yes. No, it's a different world. Now, I struggle comparing eras just in general. I struggle a lot with the different eras because it's so different. And even, you were just talking about the franchise tag and that kind of thing. Remember when guys stayed with that team that they had to. You didn't have a choice. And I get it. I get it. Like, the free agency is best for the players and that. But man, as fans, wasn't that fun to just have that guy when you weren't cheering for Laundry and you were cheering for that guy? Yes. That was amazing.
But Clint, you can address that, as you go through, man. I was talking about, is it time for the NFL to eliminate the franchise tag? So if you have some, any thing you want to add to what we've already talking about?
I struggle with it because it is the only way for some of these small market teams to keep their guys. They don't have a prayer of keeping their guys. You know what? Maybe it's time for players to stop complaining about the franchise tags. Maybe it's that, because if you get franchised, you are getting big money. You are getting paid that big contract. You don't get to leave and go test those waters and maybe make more money. I understand that. But hey, if you're a New York Jet, if you're sorry, Detroit Lion, if you're, I know. But right now, even if you're a Denver Bronco, hey, if you're Justin Simmons, I want to get the heck out of Denver if I'm him. So it's the only way for these teams to keep their players. I get it, but you got to be able to keep some of them in town.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was designed for. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
I've always thought it should be, baseball baseball's gotten some things right. I want to make sure I'm not saying baseball's gotten everything right. But if you look at baseball's system, right, where you become arbitration eligible after a certain number of games and, and the team can avoid that by, once again, signing to a longer term. Right. There are things that I think that should be put into place to help small market franchises, like they've always done. Heck, the draft. There's things we put in place. You can put things in place. Maybe they get extra compensatory picks. We have a compensatory pick system, but you could do more with it. It could be more aggressive, right? There's things you can do that would, I think, level the playing field. But are you a married man, Clint?
I am married. I've got 2 kids, both in high school, and one's getting ready to graduate this year from high school.
Oh my God.
Okay. Well, congratulations and condolences.
Thank you. And I understand.
So imagine, you really love your beautiful bride. You get down, this is the analogy I use, but you get down on one knee, you have this beautiful ring, and you say, I love you entirely and completely. I want you to be with me and with me only for 1 year. So
I get it. Yeah.
I think players would be more open to the franchise tag if, I mean, obviously at this point they can't do it anymore, but if, instead of just having the money go up, sort of like with baseball, once you bank your time basically,
Sure.
and it makes you eligible to be, to go to arbitration, right? Or something like it. I mean, it had to be something a little different because baseball is baseball and the money is unstoppable.
I contend the franchise tag is arbitration and the players always win. I think that's literally what the franchise tag is. It is a guy saying, look, I want the ability to move to another team, and the team says no. But the reward is you're going to be paid the average of the top 5 guys. I'm not sure if Kenny Galladay is one of the top 5 guys at this position, but had the Lions tagged him, they would have to pay him like it. So it's simple. He can go, or we have to pay him like he's one of the best 5. I'm not sure he's one of the best 5 receivers in the National Football League. I know at this stage of our rebuild, we couldn't pay him that way. So there's a good side to it. And I would challenge anybody on here to name me anyone who's ever made more money in a 3-year window than Kirk Cousins. Between what he did with the football team and then signing with Minnesota, Kirk Cousins is a genius. He should be in jail. He should be in jail.
Yeah, but he's a genius.
And that was all franchise.
I said he's first ballot all Sam Bradford QB Griff.
Yes.
Team. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
QB Griff. I love it.
Clint, I'm going to let you start off this next question.
All right.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Alex Smith. Well, no, I'm going to let you talk about Dak first, because Dak has now he promises a Super Bowl when he's talking about his new deal. He doesn't talk about the $1 million incentive, that's part of that package.
Sure.
But are you buying it?
I'm not buying it.
Dallas and the Cowboys in 2 years. Please.
No. Here's my problem. I'm not buying it, and it's not necessarily a Dak thing. I like Dak, but let's be real clear. They overpaid for him. They could have got him for 30 last year if they'd have just ponied up the money, and they didn't do it. We don't know how that ankle is.
Jerry says he likes overpaying for things. So
Jerry does, and Jerry still thinks he's wise. That's my problem. Jerry is still the GM of that team.
Yep.
I kept waiting last year for Jerry just to put on the helmet with no face mask and just go in and start taking snaps, because Jerry is living in that world where he still thinks he is the guy. You haven't been the guy since what, 94?
Arkansas. Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, no, go bring back Jimmy Johnson, and I guess maybe we can talk, but not as long as Jerry is running things. I have that defense is bad. That defense is bad.
Oh, Clint, you're being nice.
However. Oh, I know.
Clint is being very nice.
I'm being nice.
And here's the thing: because of Dak's deal, you got a window, and even though the cap's going to go up because the new TV deal is going to kick in, and we're going to get a bounce back, right? You're not going to be able to keep Zeke and Amari. You can't pay 3 dudes that much of your cap. One of those dudes is gone in the next 2 years. And you know what that is? That's a talented player leaving your team, which doesn't help you win football games. But no, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't know why it's frustrating me. Sorry.
You can play 3 players that much of your cap, but some guys got to play both ways.
Right. Somebody's got to go play corner. If Amari can play corner, you got a shot. Yeah, I just don't know that you can build out your whole roster when you've committed so much of your cap to 3 guys. That's really the challenge. I'm a big fan of Rayne Dakota Prescott. I think he's a really good quarterback. I'm happy when a dude in the 3rd or 4th round makes it, because it means that the scouting system and everybody kind of got it wrong on him. And I like it when people get humbled like that. But I don't know. I think the new NFL, the way you do it is you get a window when your quarterback's still on his rookie deal.
Yep.
And if he's playing at a high level on a rookie deal, you got a shot. Yep. I'm trying to be patient. I know it's coming, so I won't talk about the Chiefs yet. This is the way this system works. When you ultimately have to pay your quarterback, good news is you have a great quarterback. Bad news is you got to gut your roster now because you had to pay your great quarterback.
Yes.
That's the problem that Dallas is about to experience.
So, Clint, that's the good news. You have Drew Lock on a rookie deal. You get track to championships.
I like your chances, Clint. I like your chances.
Oh, my God. Hey, I've tried to figure out what the problem is with John Elway picking quarterbacks, and here's what I've decided. He picks guys that kind of look like him.
Yes.
That's it. Stop. Full stop. You nailed it.
But you're not him. You're not him. Hey, I'll tell you.
He reminds me of me.
Yes, he reminds me of me.
Except he can't throw football. Except he can't throw football the way I did. Other than that, it reminds me of me.
I'll tell you a story. I was writing for Bleacher Report, and I'll tell you this story. And we went down to Dove Valley when Paxton Lynch was signing his paperwork. My man had to call his mom to ask when he graduated.
Oh,
he only graduated once. It's not like he's got like a PhD or even a college degree. He graduated from high school. He didn't know. He didn't know.
That was a sign.
3 years prior. Yes.
Right. Day one on the job. Yeah. Rough.
That's that moment where the road runner
Lynch 30 for 30 is going to be flamed.
Right. That's that moment where the road runner realizes, oops.
Yep.
I might have made a mistake here.
And you could hear the whispers. He doesn't know. He's calling his mom. Oh, it's bad. It's all bad.
Even if you don't know, don't you got to
you have to
make up something and deal with it.
Who here doesn't know when they graduated high school? Who here doesn't know?
I'm much older than Paxton Lynch, probably twice as old almost as Paxton Lynch. I can tell you the day I graduated.
I can at least ballpark it, right?
Right. And that's all you got to do. If you can't, I say guess before you call your mom. And right on the list of options,
just
call your mom is way down there.
It's down the list. It's down the list. No,
well, that's the kind of people John's you need to know.
Right. Yes, it does. First day, I knew. First day, I walked out and went, "Oh, we don't have a quarterback. We just drafted a quarterback with like the 26th pick. We don't have a quarterback."
Right.
And this is the guy you want to identify the middle linebacker, see what the safety is doing in coverage, and then go through a progression of reads. Oh, righty.
The only reason Paxton Lynch didn't play out is that the mic in his helmet didn't go to his mom's house.
Excellent point on your part.
Come on, I don't know if 7G because I still couldn't call him. I don't.
He needed that. His cellular service.
But I do still remember when I graduated high school. I mean, it's but hey, actually the school isn't even there anymore. But that's
and all due respect to Mr. King, that's been a minute. That's been a couple minutes, and he remembers,
and he still knows.
No, that's been an hour. That's been
a good hour. Yeah,
that's been at least an hour. Since you did kind of spill it out there, Demetrius, I might as well let you go ahead and talk about them. The Chiefs have released both of their starting tackles. So where do we go from here? Who guards Patrick Mahomes now?
Right.
I mean, they didn't do too good a job with that makeshift line they had in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I think this is both the thing that makes the NFL the juggernaut that it is. It is a machine of printing money. They own the entire year. We are all excited about next week, a random third week in March. We're going to be glued to because the revenue sharing and the salary cap, and in this year because of COVID and the revenue going down, it has dropped. So we are
so unproductive at my job.
Right? I'm just going to take Monday and Tuesday off probably. But this was remarkably predictable. The minute Patrick Mahomes signed that deal, I think I could have predicted this. And quietly, they're still not under the cap. They saved $18 million off their books, and they're still not under the cap. So as much as everybody celebrated Mahomes' signing, somewhere there was some intern or some entry-level guy in the accounting department. And guys, we got a problem. We're gonna have a problem. And they were like, shut up, kid. We're going to the Super Bowl. Right. And that's what you do. So now you figure out a way. These guys are going to be fine because they're both very talented players. And everybody needs tackles. And then one of them can come to Detroit because we could use either one of them.
We'll take one.
Right. Everybody needs tackles. So they're going to be fine. There's a degree of it.
I wish we could take one, but we got cap issues.
We have cap issues too, but we just got to restructure some old bad contracts. But I think this was predictable. I think that it's a little bit of a blip though because revenues went down. This is going to bounce back. They're about to sign a new TV deal, and the cap money is going to go back up. So this is a short-term thing, but
2.805 in a couple of years.
Exactly. When Mahomes signed his deal, I did the same thing. When every team signs their big quarterback, my next thing is, okay, Where do you see that deal where we restructured this guy or this guy quietly got released? That's just a part of the business. And at the end of the day, I love my team. It's a business. I expect them to run it like a business. So I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody really in the know in Kansas City is surprised. Maybe that Fisher was one of the guys, but that's not a personality thing. It's certainly not a talent thing. Somebody sat down and looked at a spreadsheet and they said, those two guys, right? We don't even need the names. You can block that column, hide that whole column. I don't even need their names. This dude and this dude, they have to go. We need the 18 million, right? Because the rules are the rules and we got to get under the cap. So I don't think it's that surprising. But they're going to be fine because, you know, they got the best quarterback in the game. And so they'll work around it. So.
And they couldn't work around it in the last Super Bowl, but go ahead, Bill.
Well, it's also an indication of how much they like Lucas Niang. And I had a chance to watch a lot of his tape when he was in college. And if you want to find like things that make you feel better or whatever, he faced people like Myles Garrett. He faced some pretty good guys while he was in college. And he did a pretty good job against a bunch of them. So, if you just want to check it out, pull up some Lucas Niang tape. The other thing is the draft. So if you're wondering what's going to be happening, they're going to be having to restock some positions in the draft. And, you know, they're not going to be able to get a guy like Tristan Wirfs, unfortunately. There's nobody quite like that in this entire draft class. Right. But there's some guys who are kind of sort of close. Rashawn Slater, but he won't be there. They're going to have to find some people. And yes, some lower price free agents, because as free agency takes away, it also gives. Now, these won't be, you know, former first pick overall kind of guys. You know, you'll be getting some other kind of tackles, but you don't have to necessarily get a 5-star blue chip. I mean, how you draw your offense up, you can hide certain guys. And Patrick Mahomes is a high wire act at quarterback anyway. He already is figuring out, I'm sure right now, he's figuring out ways, looking at the tape, well, if we don't fix it, here's what I'm going to do, right? So he's got a plan B for if they don't get a better, you know, situation. But I think they will be better. I think that Lucas Niang is going to – one of those spots is going to be filled and filled admirably by Lucas Niang. Dr. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is apparently coming back to American football, and thank you for your service in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic in your native land of Canada. But apparently he's coming back, so that'll fix one of their holes at guard. And they may come up with sort of a swing situation where, depending upon the matchups, one of the guys that has been a guard may play some tackle. And then, like I said, the draft, they're going to find, you know, there's guys out there who are not going to, you know, not going to go in the first round or go at the very end of the first round who are going to be NFL starters.
Yeah.
Clint?
Yes, sir.
Your take on the Chiefs there.
Same thing. They've got the best quarterback in the business. He's smart enough, and he's still got weapons. I mean, I can probably stand back there and throw a 3-yard pass to Tyreek Hill and look pretty good. So that helps, let alone the fact that Mahomes is amazing. And how many miles did he run in the Super Bowl behind that offensive line as it was? So, like I said, I don't know it's going to be this massive restructuring of the Chiefs where we're looking at them go, no, they're on the downward slide. No, they've got to pay some people, and they're going to lose some people in the process, but he's still got a ton of weapons. Now, is that window slowly, progressively closing? Yes, it absolutely is, because that was a monster contract, my man signed.
Yep. And that's how it works. Once you pay the quarterback, it's like daylight savings time. Yep. Right? It starts to get darker every minute. Right?
It does.
It was getting lighter, you know, the day was getting longer, now the day's getting shorter. But it doesn't mean they don't still have a couple more years, because Travis Kelce's not a bad football player either, by the way.
Right. Completely unguardable until the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Yeah. And scary though, as much as he was running around, and we all agree their offensive line just got worse, right?
So
and
much worse.
He was running for his life the last time he was on a football field.
Yes,
that's the scary thing. But I think you have a point. There's a response to this.
Yeah, and they were missing both starting tackles then too.
Yeah.
So they said to themselves, if we have some sort of injury marred expensive tackles, maybe we can find guys who aren't as good but are healthier.
Yeah.
But you can build an offensive line more than one way. And obviously the best way is to have a bunch of really good players, but not everybody can do that, right? Ask Russell Wilson.
Right.
So if you can't do that, what can you do instead?
Right.
You can change things about where the launch point is for the quarterback. You can do lots of fun misdirection stuff, which very few people do better than Andy Reid and Eric, shockingly, is still an assistant coach. And you can, I mean, this is going to be a crazy thing, and you call me nuts, but I went back and looked at some of the All-22 from the Super Bowl. They had some looks that would have been extremely exploitable if they just decided to pound them in the run game.
Right.
They're allowed to do that still. Yeah. I know it sounds nuts. If they just run the ball 40 times, one, they would have kept the ball away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they would have gotten like 280 yards rushing. Yeah. The Buccaneers simply said, we don't care about your run game.
Exactly.
We don't care. We don't believe you'll stick to it, and we are going to sell out for the pass on every down. Not some downs, every down.
And I think it's brilliant. If you're Tampa, you say, if you can beat us with your running game, we'll shake your hand and hand you the Super Bowl trophy. Sure. We do not believe that is what you're going to do. We know how you intend to beat us. So, and I think it worked, and they were right.
Hats off to our Bolts.
Yeah.
Who else would you get another shot at?
Clint, are you a Denver Nuggets fan also?
Yes, I am.
Nice. I love that answer.
That came from
I've been one
way
since
down
like
here somewhere. Yeah.
Issel and David Thompson and like TR Dunn, and like I'm going back and it hurts. It hurts every year. And here's the thing. Here's the secret that I don't like to tell the young Denver Nuggets fans. We're never gonna win anything, but just enjoy the ride while you have it, because it's not gonna get any better. But like, this is, the young kids are like, hey, we might do it this year. No, we won't. I'll tell you right now.
Like, we who? Yeah. So welcome to Detroit Piston land. This league is not set up for our teams to win unless we get very lucky. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You get lucky like Milwaukee and you draft a transcendent player at 15. Yes. You got a shot, right?
Or have a chance.
Utah, right? You find Rudy Gobert somehow. You get Mike Conley on a really, really smart move, and you get Donovan Mitchell at 12 or 13. If you do that, but any regular way to build your NBA team, Denver and Detroit are in the same boat. It's among 15 other teams.
Right. Yeah. No, it's tough.
When you talk about COVID in the NBA, it's kind of a little different than it has been. With more and more players being able to get COVID. I mean, you look now. We've had a couple guys in the last couple weeks. We had Kevin Durant taken out in the middle of a game because of COVID. But the doctor, the medical director of the NBA, says he wants all players to be vaccinated. Clint, what's your thoughts?
Well, I've got a couple, I guess, thoughts on this. It would certainly help. NBA players coming out and saying they would take the vaccination would encourage it as well. Can I just say this, though, and this is not sports or anything. The medical community in general is kind of doing a horrible job of like promoting this vaccine. If you want us all to take it, can you come out and just say, hey, I don't know if this is true or not, but take the vaccine and we'll all get back to normal. Oh, well, shoot, I'm getting in line right now. When they come out and they say, hey, take the vaccine and I don't know, still wear 50 masks and don't ever see grandma, you're like, well, why would I want to do like that? Doesn't have anything to do with the NBA, but like, if you want us all to take it, make it something that we kind of want. And they're not really doing much of that in the medical community. I don't understand why, especially, the college game and the NBA, you're talking very few shots out there that you would need to get. I realize they don't want to, look like they're cutting in line, but you kind of are in a situation where you are sort of front line if you have fans coming back into arenas. So I don't have a problem with them get it. I don't hear any NBA players asking for it though. I would think if they raised a little noise about it, then maybe we'd hear more about it. I don't know that I'm hearing much from them, and maybe they're not really that sold on it either. But like I said, I don't think the medical community has done a very good job of selling this to us. If you want us to get back to normal, at least pretend like this would do that.
Well, see, I of course, being my age, I've had both my shots, so I have a little different perspective on that. My perspective is, I got the vaccine. That was my choice.
Sure.
I can't tell you to take the vaccine, but I know I can keep myself safe.
Yep.
Now, if you're talking about, bringing people back to an arena and I have my shots, am I supposed to ask that guy that's sitting in front of me, hey, man, can I see your shot card, whether or not you've had your shots? Am I supposed to ask the guy that's sitting beside me, unless it's my little family, pod here? Am I supposed to ask the guy in back of me, hey, man, can I see your shot card? But as far as me, I know that I'm safe, but do I have a right to ask you if you're safe? Demetrius, you want to,
Yeah, I'll be quick because I think Bill's got some good stuff. So I think this is easy. Kind of what you want to make this real easy. Tell people you can come to the game if you show your shot card. That's it. We're playing games. My shot was, I happened to work for a company that made it really easy for me to get my vaccination. And I didn't, there's a cultural piece of this that people that look like us don't want to get the shot for some reason I will never understand. All I can do is tell you, I get distrust in general. Nah, not with this. But if you want to make this easy, you tell people, if you want to come to the game, college football game in the South, NBA game, whatever, you want to come to the game, you got to show a shot card. Anybody can come to the game if you show a shot card. This is easy. They'll go get shots, and they can vaccinate 2 million people a day. It's not. It's getting less and less difficult. I won't say it's not hard. It's getting less and less difficult. Mine was, like I said, super easy. I happen to work for a company that made it super easy for me. But I think I'm kind of supporting Clint's point in that you got to incentivize people to do the right thing sometimes. As sad as that is, you got to incentivize people. And there are those people who have legitimate reasons why they question this. And it's I get it. I get people's opinion forming process that says to them, I don't know. My niece actually said to me, I've gone this long and I haven't gotten it. I think I'm fine. Well, that's just horrible logic. I question if we're related. That's your dad would not be proud of you. I do not agree with that. Right? I'm going to need you to go get your shot, because to your question, James, that would be me. If I'm in the arena and I've got my socially distanced seat and some dude comes to try and sit 2 seats for me, excuse me, sir, I need to see your card. I need to see your card, right? I would do that in a heartbeat and I wouldn't feel bad about it. If that makes me a jerk, that makes me a jerk. But I got my shot because I want to go to games. That's part of why I'm like, yes, please. The sooner everyone gets their shots, the sooner we can all go to games, the sooner I can go to a restaurant and sit down and have a steak. If all of our goals are to get back to normal, and the smart people, because I'm not smart enough to question scientists. I'm not that arrogant. I believe in science. I work in quality assurance. I believe in data. The data that I see from people that I believe know what they're doing says we need to get vaccinated. My liberties are not being infringed upon. It took literally 15 minutes, and most of that was waiting. The getting the shot took 3 minutes. They wouldn't let me leave to make sure I was okay. So my whole experience was 20 minutes. And
it's the time after the shot that you got
to sit and wait. I just looked on my phone and looked up things to talk to Bill about on the podcast. That's what I did at that time, right? So I took longer than I thought, because I know you got some good stuff. But I think if you incentivize them by saying, yeah, you can come to a game if you show a shot card, this will be
What do you think, Bill?
Well, I want to speak quickly to something that Clint said. Now, there is no more individualistic, at least amongst major American sports, group than NBA players. And you're right. There's some that may not be down for it, but ask Karl Anthony Towns, right?
Right.
And family members. He's telling everybody and their cat that they should be vaccinated.
No pun intended.
Right. So, yeah. Hey, look at me. Look what I did. But the point is that obviously the best, in my opinion, the best way isn't for, the director of funeral services, Adam Silver, to be the person that steps forward. We all know. We all think it when we see him. I just said it. But the point is that he might not be the best person to carry the message. Karl Anthony Towns, you do a little 3-minute spot, and before every practice, Karl Anthony Towns is a quick message for you guys, right? Boom. Like, that's where you do it. Because one, they're not going to question Karl Anthony Towns. They might question you, Mr. Doctor I've never seen before. They might question, you know, some of the NBA people that they don't necessarily have the warmest regards for, but they'll listen to Karl Anthony Towns. And he's not the only one, but he's the one that is the most obvious example of a guy who clearly knows that we are very much still in a real public health. Maybe it's not the full-on 5-alarm fire it was, but it's still, you know, all those California forest fires, burn. It's still in that burning phase. Yeah. And, you know, if the winds shift, it could go back. I don't know if y'all heard what's going on in some of these states down in the South, but we could have a nice little uptick. Things could get bad again fast.
The reason Dan's not on the podcast, right? He's in Texas. He's just out doing whatever he wants tonight, I guess.
Bill, this year's finalists for the Hall of Fame include Bill Russell, of course, for being the first black head coach. I'm not sure whether it's being the first black head coach or the first black head coach to win a championship. But he's among the candidates. We also have Chris Bosh and Paul Pierce. Your thoughts on this year's class?
It's a solid class. I mean, like, what am I going to say? I think Ben Wallace got in, right? I mean, how am I going to? No offense to the mighty, but you know what I mean. I mean, I'm not like Ben Wallace was a great but extremely limited basketball player, right? He was really great at the thing he did, and the NBA, I think we'll all agree, is the most permissive of the major sports.
I'm in the NBA Hall of Fame. I might be in the NBA Hall of Fame. I got to check.
So, I mean, there's not a lot of controversy usually with the NBA Hall of Fame. Like, the closest I can think of is there's a few guys, and these would be borderline guys, but there's a handful of guys who's like, well, why is it? There's so many guys in, why not him? Because that's what they put themselves in. They put themselves in a situation where you can look at a career of a guy like a Bobby Dandridge and say, you know, I was a pretty damn good player. Yep. He played on 2 championship teams. He was, you know, either the second or third highest scorer. He could defend. He could rebound. He was a good shooter. Now, I shouldn't get upset about Bobby Dandridge, right? Because he's not a great player, but there's a lot of guys in the NBA who aren't better than Bobby Dandridge. You see what I'm saying? So that's the hole the NBA has dug itself by being almost like an open door kind of environment. So did you play for 12 years? Were you pretty damn good most of those 12 years? Yeah, probably in the Hall of Fame.
What do you think, Demetrius?
I think he's dead on. I think, like I said, I jokingly said I might be in the NBA Hall of Fame. I got to check, but I think that's okay because the NBA has never tried to fool us. They have always been like, look, the NBA is about recognizing. It's about promoting their game. Their Hall of Fame is like a commercial. It's a weekend event to promote that league. And I don't disagree with it. Obviously, I'm biased when it comes to Ben Wallace. I probably saw every game he played in Detroit, and he was exceptional at 2 things. He was one of the best defenders ever, and he was one of the best rebounders ever. Now, if you believe those 2 things are important, and I suggest Bill Russell going in twice would say that that's kind of important. I don't have a problem with Ben Wallace going, but any Piston that gets in, I'm all for it. I don't even care. They can put Hooper the mascot in. I'm down.
Is Richard Hamilton going in as a Piston?
See, you're not going to give me the bad mouth that 04 team. That 04 team, that's the last true team before all the get your big 3 and me and my buddies go steal. That was a team. That was a team.
Yes, it
Those
was.
5 dudes were really, really good. But I think the NBA treats their Hall of Fame like a promotional event, and it's not to downplay anyone. Rick Adelman bounced around the league and coached for a long time, and it's hard being an NBA coach. Right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Rick Adelman doesn't deserve to be Rich. Right. Hey. I think Michael Cooper was a good player. Was a really good player.
Very good.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue. So to me, it would be Tim Hardaway. I don't know what to do here, guys. I think I'm trying to explain that, much piggybacking on Bill's point, they treat their Hall of Fame differently, and it doesn't surprise me. I'll put it that way. That these guys, I think Chris Webber deserves to be in, like legitimately deserves to be in.
Oh,
Clint. What about the time that Steph Curry spent as a ball boy? I mean,
that's got to count. That's got to count.
It goes. It's just another notch. It's just another notch. Hey, it's the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Very Good. Those are some very. Chris Bosh is a very good player. He took a step back down in Miami and he changed his game. And I don't know if he gets all the credit that maybe even he deserves for that.
He does not. Great point.
But he totally changed his game. You talked about Michael Cooper and Rick Adelman. Paul Pierce goes in. Do the wheelchair shorts go in, or do we? I don't know how they handle
the
that.
Wheelchair, he's got to be sitting in the wheelchair. His bust has to be him in a wheelchair.
In the wheelchair,
yes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's awesome. Good call.
Oh man, let's stick with some fun stuff here. I came across a little thing today. I think it was on Skip and Shannon where they had where they had the 2-on-2, and it was Magic and Bird playing LeBron and Durant. So I thought I'd get a little more creative and I'd make it a 3-on-3. Clint,
yes,
we got Magic, Bird, and MJ on one side.
Okay.
And I got LeBron, Durant, and Steph Curry on the other side. Who wins?
Well, here's the ultimate question that I have to throw out to you. Whose rules are we playing with?
There it is.
There it is. Way to nail it. Right. Easy.
If we're playing in 85 rules,
exactly.
The old fellas are going to give them some run because they're going to knock some people on the ground in a way they have never experienced in their lifetime.
Steph Curry is getting the business. He is getting the business.
Oh, he's going to get treated like Harold Miner, just knocked around. And I'm sorry, Steph is probably the greatest shooter I've ever seen. And yet, when you get a punch in the chest,
right,
it's going to hurt.
Harder to shoot when you're laying on your back.
And if you're going to play with the modern rules,
right,
you're telling me you can't touch MJ, you can't touch Bird, you can't.
Right.
That's going to be rough. I hate to lean all toward the old guys, but it's a different world. It is a different world. It would be tough to defend LeBron. LeBron is a man. That's going to be very, very difficult. If you're playing with the rules of you can't touch Steph, then he's gonna shoot. And we know, Bird or Magic, not going to really do a whole lot on defense. But if we're going to change the rules up, then you also can't touch those guys either. And that's going to be really tough.
Defend? Somebody tell me who Steph Curry defends. That's the game to me. If Larry Bird's back is okay, who is Steph Curry defending?
Well,
that's
he led the
Can you imagine Magic just backing him down in the post?
Right? Didn't Steph lead the league in steals for 2 years?
Oh, no. This is 3-on-3. This is 3-on-3. That doesn't matter. He's getting posted up. He's getting posted. No matter which one of those three dudes he's guarding, they're taking his ass to the block. And it's school time. It's school time. Yeah, that's the game to me because you're not stopping LeBron. I contend nobody on the new team's going to stop MJ. Same thing with Durant. Everybody is vicious. Who is Steph guarding becomes the question to me. And that's the dude I got my money on.
Who's KD guarding?
Yeah.
He's a big dude, but not exactly known.
He's got to be on Magic. You got to
bring him on Magic
because Magic is well, I don't know. Yeah, that's
true. Magic's taking him to the block too.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's still 30 pounds, right?
Yes.
And Magic's a grown man. He was always a grown man.
So if you put Magic on LeBron, and you put KD on Bird, then that leaves.
Steph Curry guarding Michael Jordan.
You can't do that. Now you see why you can't do that, right?
Thank you for proving my point, Mr. King. Mr. King, you did a great job of just totally showing my point. You've got Steph Curry guarding Michael Jordan. Conversation's over. That's the end of that. That's great.
And
he realized it too. As he was saying it, he realized it.
He's gonna call his dad, like, Dad,
yeah.
what did you do when you were playing Jordan? And he's gonna say, son, I tried to get out of the way.
Right. Yes. Right. I called the timeout and let a sub come in. That's what I did. Yeah. That ultimately is where you end up. You end up with Steph Curry guarding Michael Jordan, and as Clint said, in either set of rules, I got the old guys. I'm gonna be honest. Steph's the best shooter, but Larry Bird was pretty good at shooting the basketball.
Really good.
You think Larry Joseph Bird could shoot a little bit?
And he was only 6 inches taller than Steph, or 5 inches taller than Steph. I don't know. I got the old dudes in any era, any scenario. Everybody healthy, I got the old dudes in all scenarios.
What do you think, Bill? Do you make it unanimous or what?
Well, I'm not going to make it unanimous. I'm going to go back to what Clint said. If it's half court, I'm taking the old guys all day long, right? If we're talking half, I don't care whose rules. If it's half court, they win.
Yeah. Because
these guys know how to play half court basketball.
Yeah.
And you just pick 3 of the 10 best half court basketball players in the history of the planet. Yep. So, I mean, nowadays, how many great half court players are left? Steph's a great full court player.
Yeah.
KD's an unstoppable full court player who can play half court. And LeBron is still okay. LeBron can do both. LeBron's also half court. Because he's got a really nice post game and everything. But most of the great modern players are not great half court players.
Right.
They're great full court players. The game is now all about spacing. And, very few of these guys really know how to even make those cute little entry passes that you used to have to be able to make when somebody kind of shoves you off your spot a little bit, but he opens up a little area where you can shoot a little entry pass in. Yep. These people don't do that because, well, first of all, nobody passes to the post anymore because why would you do that? So, when I could instead take an off-balance 3. So we have a different paradigm, right? Most of the guys, the great players, there's a handful, right? Going back to your team, Jokic, right? There's some guys who can still play half-court basketball, Jamal Murray even, right? Mm-hmm. Your team, in a weird sort of way, would have been better 30 years ago.
Yes.
Much better.
Much better. Yeah. They still would have lost, but much better.
Right, but no, right, exactly. They wouldn't have beaten Jordan, but this is a team that might have made it to lose in the way that this team is constructed, because it's not constructed for today's approach to basketball. But
they would have been the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. Right, you have a really good 1991 basketball team.
Yes, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, there you go.
So,
as you may know, I hate all things Cleveland. So, yeah.
So if we're running full court, I give the young whippersnappers a good shot at winning no matter what rules. But if we're talking just a half court game, we're not running full court. Come on. Bird had the same team. And then you got an unguardable player.
Right. Yeah, that other dude. Yeah, exactly. Well, Bird's back's not going to hold up running full court in any era. So yeah, you're right. That's not going to work out. But yeah, I think it's a great question, though, Mr. King. I got to give you credit. Question. That was really good. That was really good.
Oh, speaking of Halls of Fame, I just want to throw something real quick at Clint. I write a lot about the NFL Hall of Fame, and I don't know why they hate Denver Broncos.
They do, though.
The best defensive back in the entire AFL was Dave Grayson, and Willie Brown, no less, said it was.
Yes.
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Lionel Taylor, except maybe Bambi Allworth, was the best wide receiver in the whole AFL. It's not in the Hall of Fame. The best linebacker who didn't play for the Steelers in the 70s was clearly Randy Gradishar.
Yes.
And he might have, if he was on the Steelers, he might have been the second best linebacker on the Steelers. It would have been close.
I think you answered your question, though.
His tackles numbers are up there with Ray Lewis.
I think there's an AFL bias, actually.
Maybe so.
I think
Gradishar played only in the NFL, but they just hate him for some reasons I'll never understand. He should never have made it to the Veterans Committee. He should have been voted in 5 years after he retired. How are we still talking about Gradishar not being in? Yeah. I'm not less worried about.
I might bring that up in next week's podcast.
Oh, we need to look into that.
Which franchises the NFL hates the most?
Yeah.
His team is on the list. They hate the Bengals too. They hate the Bengals.
Well, for good reason.
They do hate the Bengals.
For good reason, right?
Yeah, I mean,
let's be honest.
Who doesn't hate the Bengals?
Well, I'll put it this way, but I love Kenny Riley. And it broke my heart when they let that man die without making it.
Without making it, yeah.
That's
insanity.
Well, let's see. Let's get back here on track. We still got a few minutes here. Not that it really makes any difference. I'm not one. I don't really keep track of that time. I don't know what.
Either.
And that's why we love you, James.
Exactly.
I keep Rip Van Winkle time, guys. So let's see here. Let's talk about the last year's class. We didn't get a chance to induct them, but you guys, since you were so down on this year's class, you
wasn't down on it. I was just saying it was just kind of
just ripped the whole league and their entire Hall of Fame. That's all.
I made it clear that they are the most permissive. I stand by that statement. I feel like I'm 100% accurate saying it.
That's kind of like Mary Lou under the benches. You know what I'm saying? Hey guys, it's a gang. Anyway,
again, that is for SportsKRIB After Dark, Mr. King. We talked about this. This is the early show. You can't be doing this on the kid-friendly show. That's for the adult show at 11:30.
No. Hey, that's why I made the show. Your audiences only, but. Last year, we had Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, and Tim Duncan. Do you think that
they should have pushed one of those guys into this year just to
yes,
because it doesn't look great, does it? When you look at that, it is.
Exactly.
So when you look at that class, do you think that was the best one of a kind class ever? When you consider the rest of the bus boy carried Bill Russell's.
I was gonna say there were some classes from the 70s where a bunch of those great 60s players went in. I'd have to think about that one. Let me think about it. But yeah,
no, I think you're right. You're gonna be able to go find some 70s classes with a bunch of old Celtics and guys from the 60s that were all there's some good classes back then. I think for sure. But this is gonna be tough though. You could argue all three of these guys are top 7 at their positions. Duncan might be the best power forward of all time. Yeah. You could, depending on where you put Bill Russell, he's got to be a center. Duncan's got to be in your top 2 or 3 of all time. Kobe, right? Top 2 or 3 of all time. And I happen to be a big Kevin Garnett fan. I think he was when he came along, he revolutionized the position. He did things that other players couldn't do. I think that's probably the best. I think that's the best group. I think your question is good. I think it's a yes, just on the strength of you have just that top of that thing is heavy. We can't talk about the Hall of Fame for this class. We dissected the other class, but there are probably some great 70s classes that are deeper, 7, 8 guys that you go, wow. But I don't know that you're going to find a class that's this top heavy.
What do you think, Clint?
There's one class that I got to throw out there, and that was 2009, maybe, where Jordan, David Robinson, and Stockton all went in. That is right here with that kind of level, but it's right there. And one guy that we haven't mentioned, really, really good coach, really tough player, but Rudy Tomjanovich going in the 2020 class as well. He's another guy that is right there. And then you talked about the other ones, and like I said, among the best ever to play the game. Yeah, this is as good as it gets. This is probably a top 3 class, if not the best ever. It's really, really stacked.
Yeah. That's a good group.
And there's been some other, as you said, sort of depth classes where they weren't maybe as top heavy. Mm-hmm. Like Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Grant Hill, Mo Cheeks, Ray Allen, Dino Raja. I think one of the Scotts, Charlie Scott, and some other people.
That's all one class?
Yeah, it was all one class.
That's a good class.
That's a great class.
That's a great team.
Shaq and AI went in the same year?
Shaq and AI went in, and somebody went in with them. Hold on, give me a second.
I think Yao Ming went in with them.
Yao and
that's a nice
Reinsdorf, I think, went in with them also.
Okay, that pulled that class down.
You're right. Jerry Reinsdorf did.
I didn't just pull that class down. No, I won't say that.
Yeah, that weighs down a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, there have been some ones, like I said, for depth that may have had more, and there've been a couple of like I said, power packed. That's what I say about the ones you just described. where it's just like, wow. Like like you have 3-4 headliners, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the class is sort of a stealthy good class. Scotty's class, because Malone was in that class, Dennis Johnson was in that class, Gus Johnson, right? Both the Johnsons were in that class. Cheryl Swoops, Cooper, sorry, not Cheryl Swoops, not her. Cynthia Cooper, sorry.
Cynthia Cooper,
went in with them. Jerry Buss and Bobby Hurley. Now, once again, I'm about to go off on the fact that Bobby Hurley's
one of these things is not like,
but isn't it? And I might be wrong. Isn't it the Basketball Hall of Fame?
It is,
so
right.
Bobby,
So it's not.
So Bobby Hurley gets
he went in for what he did in college,
right? 100%, not for crashing motorcycles.
Right. And even putting guys who played pre-NBA, like Cumberland Posey. I don't know if you guys are Negro League guys. Okay, good. So he's in both. He also was a great early pre-NBA black basketball player, but he was also a great manager and great baseball player. So he's in both the baseball and basketball Hall of Fame. So yes, they don't make a distinction. So there are players who just played internationally. Like this guy was amazing on the Greek national team. So that's part of why they have no problem letting Ben Wallace in.
You kind of have to.
These guys that nobody's heard of anyway. So.
That was Wallace again.
I do want to let one point that Clint made not go unnoticed. He clarified that Bobby Hurley is not in the Hall of Fame for crashing up his car. I like Bobby Hurley.
It might be a different Hall of Fame.
He's okay. Yeah, he's okay.
So auto racing Hall of Fame sort of thing.
It's astonishing that he is alive because I've seen it.
I saw that too.
It's horrible.
They did like a 30 for 30 type of thing. I think it was shorter version, maybe E60 or something. It was wow.
Yes.
Yeah. It was definitely worse than Earl Spence.
His dad should maybe be in the Hall of Fame, for the record, by the way.
His father,
what he did on
in the state of New Jersey.
His dad deserved to be in there. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think the National High School Basketball Hall of Fame as well. He is. St. Anthony's just a legend. Yeah.
Hey,
I think about 31 guys in the Pro Ball in his time.
Yep. Exactly.
There are two coaches that I've met in person at coaching clinics and that kind of thing, and Bob Hurley was one of them. Where I was a coach there, and he said, so I started to get up and go. I was so scared. I was like, I'll run. I don't care.
Doing laps. You're running monsters.
Yes, I'm out there running just because he yelled real loud. Yeah.
Who else had a commanding presence is Wayne. Bobby Knight, who's the father of Rex Chapman.
Rex Chapman,
great coach at Kentucky Wesleyan for 40 years, a long time. Because my dad said he remembered in the old NAIA days seeing, his father, and then when I was working in the SID's office at my school, I met Wayne, and he's an imposing individual, right? Bigger than Rex, and air of command. And as he said, like if he'd said run, I would have been running. I mean, I wouldn't have asked, I would have been like, okay. So
it's not official until Pop says it, but he says it's time for Lamar to go. LaMarcus, I'm sorry.
Yes, LaMarcus.
Yep. Couldn't he have done that 2 years ago? I mean, I'm just asking.
He could have, but he didn't. And now
the time bucks.
You guys have to help me understand this. And I'm being honest. I don't understand what the issue is. We know who LaMarcus Aldridge is. He's 18 and 12. He's been 18 and 12 his whole career. He was that way in Portland. That's who you traded for. That's what he's been. Why are people mad at LaMarcus Aldridge? He's just being LaMarcus Aldridge, a really good, solid NBA power forward for 15 years. What's the problem with LaMarcus?
We'll probably make the Hall of Fame.
Bro, it was damn sure going to the Hall of Fame.
For sure. That's personally
going to the Hall of Fame. Right? Longevity alone should get him. But he's consistent. You look at his numbers. The guy is just
it's where he went. Yeah, they wanted him. Now, I'm not saying that it was right.
No, you can finish it. They wanted him to be Tim Duncan.
Yep.
Right.
That's the problem.
And
That's not LaMarcus's fault.
And Tim Duncan's not coming through.
Right.
I mean,
and all he did was go out and give you 18 and 12 every night.
Yeah,
and you're mad because he's not Tim Duncan. You're the problem, not him. I don't know. He wasn't a Piston. I wish he would have been a Piston. I'd have gladly taken the last 8 years of LaMarcus Aldridge's career. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get irritated by this stuff, like when you complain about only having 6 Super Bowls and Clint's down there bitching about some Denver nonsense. I don't want to hear that. I'm sorry. LaMarcus Aldridge would have looked great in a Piston uniform. And a guy who can give you 15 seasons where he played, except for one season, I think he was giving you 77, 80 games. And 18 and 12 every night. Consistency, durability. I never saw him get in trouble. Maybe I missed it. What exactly did you want? Because I'm confused.
I'm going to amend my earlier sort of almost dismissive calling him a Hall of Famer. His career is 19.4, 8.3, 2 assists. Let's see, how many blocks? But
those are Hall of Fame numbers.
He's a legit Hall of Famer.
You do that for 12, 14 years?
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
No more dismissive tone. This is a Hall of Fame player. Sorry, LaMarcus. You are legitimately a Hall of Famer.
Clint, maybe you can bring some sensibility to this.
I can't, but I am starting to wonder a little bit because obviously as a coach, I look at Greg Popovich and say, hey, that he knows how to coach. We've now seen a couple players for some reason not really like this guy. Kawhi couldn't get out of town soon enough, and something's going on here with Aldridge, and I don't know what it is, but there's one common denominator, and that is Pop. And I don't know if Pop is just a crazy man now. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
but
he's
Bill
always
does,
been
maybe.
cranky, and now he's crankier. You don't get less cranky with age.
No.
Hey.
Kawhi fled to Canada. Kawhi fled to Canada.
Yes.
Like, really?
I'd rather live in Canada than be next to Pop.
I want to move to Canada rather than work for you. Okay. Great.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think it's old Pop. Social activist Pop is not as cool to work for, apparently.
I mean, even young Pop was a little cranky, but this version of Greg Popovich has stopped. What does the old say? Where you keep looking to see if you have any more blanks to give.
Right. He's out.
Pop stopped looking for blanks.
Pop's out. He's patting his pockets. Checking.
Right.
I really think, especially since his wife died, that he's on his way out. I think the plan was probably to turn the team over to Tim, but evidently that might not be working so well because Pop's still there. But Clint, the Nets have now acquired Blake Griffin.
Championship.
Now, everybody says
start sizing for those rings.
But I also remember that there was a Laker team that went out and got Karl Malone and Greg Paxton.
Yep.
So, what's your thoughts? Does he really improve the Nets?
No, because he's not who he was. If this was 2010, yes. My God, he's going to really do some things. But he's no longer a 20-10 guy. He's a 12-4 guy coming off the bench. He knows what he wants to do, but his body won't do those things anymore. So it's a struggle. And the biggest problem is that what is it that the Nets really need? And obviously they need some sort of defensive presence, and he doesn't bring that at all. So I maybe he helps their bench a little bit. They come out of the East, right? I think they come out of the East. I think. But at the same time, we don't know what's going on with Durant. We don't know how that's going. And we don't know if Kyrie one day is just like, you know what? My aura is all, cluttered and I don't feel like playing tonight. And so maybe he doesn't play.
Yeah. For the record, Bill has affectionately nicknamed Kyrie World B Flat. So that's what we go with when we talk about Kyrie. So as the person who has watched Blake Griffin play very closely for the last 4 years, I will tell you guys that Clint nailed it right off the top. You're not getting Blake Griffin. You're getting a watered down. You're getting, his cousin, right? You're getting Benji Griffin. You're not getting Blake. And a lot of his injury. Because, oh, by the way, I will say right up front, he's a great dude. He was great in the community. He was great in the locker room. I don't have a bad word to say about Blake Griffin. Clint nailed it. His body won't let him do what he once was able to do. And I think, James, you nailed the comparison. The 04 Lakers with Karl Malone and Gary Payton coincidentally got 5 games swept by the Detroit Pistons. That was the same thing. You acquire them, and now with Durant being out, again, piggybacking on what Clint said, he can give you spots, right? Blake Griffin can probably give you spots. But it won't be spots of defense. so that therein lies your problem. If you brought Blake Griffin over for defense, I'm not sure you were in the right job. And that's 4 years of watching him. He can do when he's healthy, which is not often. He still has a unique skill set. None of that skill set equals defense. So I don't really know what they're gonna get if they use him spot minutes coming off the bench. And like you said, anytime Kyrie could go off, I think we'll see what happens with Durant, but he's not giving you defense. He can give you spot offensive productivity when he's healthy, which is not a great endorsement. It's just not a great. He can give you spot offensive productivity when he's healthy. That's the best I can do. That's my best.
Bill, okay, so we got spot offense. We have no defense.
What does this date mean to you? December 12th, 2019.
That is probably the day we traded for Blake Griffin. Oh, 19?
No, he was already there.
Not 19.
It was the night of Blake Griffin's last NBA dunk.
Oh, wow. Wow. And Blake Griffin is supposed to be like a dunker.
Well, at one point he was.
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. We cut him a nice check to go home. So we gave him like $40 million to leave or something like that.
It's good work if you could get it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Bill,
you're getting a former freak athlete, right?
Yeah.
And it's nothing hard. Now, I'll give him credit. He's turned himself still into a decent NBA player, but I hope they weren't looking at the wrong tape, I guess.
You wonder.
Oh, wait.
Clipper tape.
2012.
Not
2021. You swapped the 2 and the 1.
Clint said you looked at the Clipper tape. That's great. You thought it was Detroit tape. It was actually Clipper tape.
It was actually Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Might have been Oklahoma.
It might have been.
Bill, you're talking about Blake Griffin, but Clint kind of spotted it a little bit. He didn't really go into it, but KD's missed another game. Hamstring problems now. Can you count Blake Griffin for 20 games, maybe 25?
Well, you mean a whole season? Probably, yes.
In a row.
Together. But if you talk about evenly throughout an 82-game season, yes. Pencil in for 23 games of that 82. Yes, 100%. But no, not consecutive games. No, that's just silly. But if you want those games evenly spread throughout your season, he will give you 23 games. I can promise you that.
And he's had a month off, so he should be able to give you 5-6 in a row right now.
Right.
And then the ankles are going to swell up and the quad's going to start hurting.
He's off tonight. So
how's he off already? What are we? All right.
How do you get fired on your day off?
This is what 10 in a row off for KD, right? Were we worried?
Yeah.
Isn't that really what the question is? Or I'm already there. I'm quick to the alarm guy. I'm not sure we're ever gonna see Kevin Durant
prime KD
ever.
No,
I think we'll see 88 or so percent KD for a couple of years, and then we'll see 75-ish percent KD for a couple of years, and then we'll see. I probably should be coming off the bench, but I'm too proud to do it. KD,
Blake Griffin. Right? But the Nets are paying him prime KD money for another like 4 years, right?
Oh yes, and by the end of those 4 years, he should not be starting anymore, as I just said.
Yeah.
So it'll be awesome. It'll be fantastic.
But by the end of those 4 years, he'll only be playing 12 games a year unless you make the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. This is gonna save him.
Clint, what's your take on this? I mean, we have World Be Flat and James Harden, and a miscellaneous bench, and Blake Griffin.
Well, get T-shirts
and you're talking about them coming out of the East as a lock, no less.
As a lock, no less. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Here's my concern for Kevin Durant. It's not a blown knee. It's not a blown torn quad.
His hamstring. It's his hamstring.
Well, it is, but it's also an Achilles. An Achilles is the injury of an older player. That is Miles.
Let's just say it. Yes,
that is not a college
injury.
kid. A college kid went out, tried to dunk, and blew his knee. Go, okay, well that's just an Achilles is a different animal. So anytime you hear Achilles, and by the way, I'm a little concerned about AD with the Lakers for the same reason, because it's an Achilles. And Achilles always raises big red flags, because I go, wait a second, that is not just a contact injury. That is a Miles injury, which is concerning. But with the Nets,
if you're here next week, Clint, I promise we will be talking about the Lakers and AD. I promise you that.
That could be concerning. And speaking of, we talked about LaMarcus Aldridge. I could see him ending up there, of course, because they get everybody. But back to the Nets, you've got Kyrie. We don't know when he's going to feel like playing or doing whatever. You've got James Harden, who is always at the verge of coming home with the stripper flu. And now you've got KD, who's banged up. It's a little bit tough to kind of figure that team to do. They might go to the finals. They might be done in the first round. I don't have any idea what the Nets are going to do.
Yep. And that's beautiful. That's what makes sports amazing, is that we honestly have no idea.
If they have to play tough defense, right? If they get in a dogfight, even early on, I'm there with it. Remember, what did I say, James, when you used to ask me about the Rockets? For years, you said, what did I say every single time? I said, I don't trust them. I don't trust them because their best player only plays on one half. Only plays 50% of the game. When your best player, when your keystone of your franchise only plays 50% of, you see, basketball's not football. You don't have a defensively, you may have defensive specialists, but you don't have a defensive squad. You can't stop every few minutes and say, okay, you can get some Gatorade while so-and-so plays defense for you. No, you have to play at both ends of the court. And some team is good enough to exploit the fact that you're playing 4-on-5.
Exactly.
And I said this when you kept asking, are the Rockets for real? I said the same thing. No, James, no. Why you keep asking me? And you kept asking, are the Rockets for real? I said, no. I will never say yes to you asking if the Rockets are real, because their best player only plays on one end of the court. And finally, he left. So you can go back to the Rockets if you want. But he's now in another situation where I don't trust him. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, am I going to suddenly change my mind about James Harden at this point in his career? Is he suddenly going to become young Scottie Pippen? I don't see that happening. So unless the other four players on the court now have to be incredible defenders if they ever play a team that can really exploit them on the fact they're playing 4-on-5. That's the only way you can kind of make up for it. Incredible weak side help, length, chasing down, freezing passing lanes. Is that what the Nets do? I just wanted to ask real quick, because I'm not a basketball expert, but I want and I'm waiting to see the Nets have like great rim protection. I mean, maybe I'm missing it. If they've got a great rim protector, maybe I'm looking the other direction, or maybe I'm eating my sandwich or whatever when that's happening. So if someone can identify for me the great defensive stopping that they have to make up for having a player who doesn't really care about defense, who is that guy, and why have I not seen him? So you're asking me to believe in a team that plays 4-on-5 And amongst the 4 who do play defense, they don't have anyone you point and say, wow, that guy's amazing. That guy's a killer on defense, right?
Blake Griffin.
Bam Adebayo. Where's there? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just asking.
And you don't know on what night those 4 are going to show up to play his defense. So
sure.
Everything Bill just said is right. Everything he just said is right. And I go back to Clint. They're in the East. They're in the East.
Sure.
It might not matter because they're in the East.
Sure.
And God forbid Durant gets healthy because there's nobody in the East that's going to be able to beat them 4 out of 7 times.
Because the Sixers are the reverse, right? They're 4 on 5 on offense because one of their best players can't shoot.
Yes.
With either hand. Exactly.
Right.
See, but there's some hope in the East. There's that big kid they call the Greek Freak. But these are all things we'll talk about next week in our NBA
Absolutely.
session. Bill, why don't you start off and give us your final thoughts for the evening? And I know you got a ton of stuff.
Man, time flies. Clint, you're great. But time flies when you're having fun. I'm going to reflect on the fact, and I know I kind of said something similar, but I'm going to double down on it. I've been following a lot and adding to my following on Twitter and other social media, a lot of amazing women in sports. I followed Amy Trask for years, who, if you aren't following Amy Trask, what the heck's wrong with you? She has amazing Al Davis stories. I mean, if for nothing else, you should follow her for her amazing Al Davis stories. But I mean, the first female executive in an NFL franchise. I followed Jennifer King, who is the first African-American woman coach. There's a lot of amazing women all throughout sports doing amazing things. I follow some women who are directors of football recruitment at major colleges. And I'm not saying this to say, oh, look what a great guy I am, because like that shouldn't be a great guy thing. Like you should just do that because they're great people and they're great follows.
Absolutely.
There are women in sports who are kicking ass. And they're doing it despite the fact that the deck was very much stacked against them in so many ways. I mean, there are people who just get on Twitter and disrespect like WNBA players, like, oh, I could put 30 on her. Oh, really? Love to see it.
Not on your best.
Okay, mister, I played a little in high school. You tee it up one time with Tamika Catchings. will pay for your ticket. I will fly you there. Go out there and catch these buckets from Tamika.
That's it.
I mean, like there's this disrespect, this wall of disrespect. And some of my female friends in sports media share with me some of the ludicrous things that have been tweeted them and crazy things that come up in their DMs. Some of which are like illegal, threatening stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I don't get all that, but this is an amazing place to be, right? Sports is this thing that cuts across whether money or not, what you look like, where you come from. It's one of the great levelers in this very disparate nation in which we live, right? All these great stories where you watch some guy who grew up in this incredibly poor part of the Dominican Republic, where he literally lived at a place where his floor was mud, and his glove was an old box that he kind of beat into the shape of his hand, and he never played with a real baseball until he was 12. And now he's signing, a contract for, $500 million. This is a place where everyone should be brought in. The sports tent should be the widest tent we have in our culture. Or maybe it shouldn't be, but it really probably is. Maybe that should be other things, but it isn't, right? Sadly, religion divides us. Everything divides us. But sports is this thing that even though it divides us, it unites us at the same time, right? I mean, it divides because I hate so-and-so and you hate blah, 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 blah. But there's that mutual passion and that mutual commitment to this thing that is not even related to you, right? We use terms like we. If I showed up, nobody know who I am. So we still feel a part of this thing that isn't even really a part of us. So to make it more difficult for someone because of their internal organs, right? Or what they look like or whatever it is, to participate in this amazing thing that we all love is just dumb. So celebrate a woman in sports, let her know she's awesome, and just enjoy watching them do great stuff.
Thanks as always, Bill. I look forward to talking to you next week as usual. Dimitri, we hope that you don't have any business next week, but in the meantime, why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening?
Sure. I'm good for next week. Echo everything Bill just said. Celebrate women in sports. I want to attack a common narrative. I know I'm in the minority. I might be a literal unicorn on this, but I am so sick of this narrative. This is kind of a personal final thought for me. The idea that professional athletes are overpaid. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of arguing about it, and I just want to kill it. And so I'm just going to try with 3 simple points. I'm a big fan of the rule of 3. So I'm going to try 3 points. And if I don't convince you guys, it's fine. Clint's already looking like, what the hell is this dude talking about? Which is fine. I'm cool with that. Here's the thing. Point number 1, these are uniquely special and gifted athletes. Like, God touched these people. If the Lions would have grabbed some guy named Jerry Sanders and threw a 20 on his back, I wouldn't have went to the game, because that's not the same as watching Barry Sanders, because God gave Barry Sanders a special set of gifts. Todd Marinovic's dad tried to create this. It didn't work. God has gifted a certain kind of person. They are unique and special in what they can do. Point number 2, owners make billions with a B. It is only fair and right that the players who I just identified as the gifted person that I'm going to see should make millions. In fact, I almost want to make an argument that some of them are underpaid, even in today's game. The ratio between what the owners make and the NFL owners are so, I don't want to call them brilliant, because I think a lot of them are actually morons. They have built a system that says we only have to give you 49.5% of the pie. Now, that is a massive pie, and the players are doing well. I'm not crying for any NFL players. They print money. To lose money as an NFL owner, you have to be a complete and utter moron. They are making billions. The players are the product. Like I'm not paying. Like, if you buy a car, you're buying a car. Like, if my mom could have gotten 80,000 people to come to Flint, Michigan and watch her put doors on Buick LeSabres, GM would have paid her whatever the hell she wanted. Right? But she couldn't do that and get them to park and buy hot dogs. I went to see Barry Sanders. That's who I went to see. So he's the product. And the owners are making billions from that product. He deserves millions. The third one, and the most important one that I think people always lose sight of, every single player in every professional league has one thing in common. They all accepted an offer. Somebody else said, you're worth this money. Whatever you think about whatever money LeBron or KD makes, somebody else who has the money went to them and said, please take my money. Here's a pen. Please take my money. If the owner of SC Johnson came to me and said, Demetrius, you are the best in the world. Here is $80 million a year. I'm going to kill 3 people and a baby to get a pen to sign that contract. That's the thing. They are unique and specially gifted. They still only make a fraction of what the people they work for make. And they all were offered. Your value is what somebody else is willing to pay you, not what some fan thinks or what some chart says. It's what somebody else is willing to pay you. I'm tired of the narrative that athletes are overpaid, and women athletes are grossly underpaid. Quite frankly, that's a whole nother final thought for another time. But in general, just yesterday, the narrative that athletes are underpaid came to me, and I thought, that's my final thought. I'm so sick of hearing it. And if you guys think I'm wrong, I respect your opinions, and we can discuss it on here another time or offline or whatever you want. The narrative is killing me. It really is. So I appreciate the time to talk about it. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I will be back next week. Clint, I hope you join us again. It's a blast, and I hope we get to talk a lot more.
And just in the time that you were speaking, Demetrius, Jeff Bezos made $112 million.
Exactly. Exactly. And didn't get off his feet. Didn't get off his couch.
Clint, man, it was good to have you here. As you see, man, we have a lot of fun. We try to put a time limit on this show, but
no, we don't. That's a lie. I don't. They never told me anything about a time limit.
What James means, Clint, what he's saying is there's a time suggestion. There's a time suggestion.
Clint's in the Mountain Time Zone. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care. I'm in the Central. I don't really care that much about you Eastern Time Zone guys needing to go to bed. I know Clint doesn't care.
No, I got time. I've still got stuff to do tonight, so no, I'm good.
Clint's at the bar after we're done.
And I'm in California, so I really
nice.
He doesn't. Yeah, James doesn't care.
No, I still got 3 hours to do what I need to do. Nice. So anyway, Clint, give us your last thoughts, man. Good to have you here, and we'll send you another invite next week, man.
Well, first off, I would like to thank you guys for the invite. I could sit here and talk sports with you guys all night. And I've got to, I'll piggyback because the two guys that went, Bill and Demetrius, you set the bar high for me. So now I got to come up with something on the spot here. So I'll piggyback a little bit off of what Bill said, talking about how sports somehow brings people together. I won't dwell on my Broncos stuff here too much, but you go to the parade after they win the Super Bowl. And there's someone standing next to you, different religion, different race, different background, different. Hey, the four of us never meet, never know each other, but sports somehow bring us together. And I'm sitting here going, hey, I just found 3 guys. I'd love to sit here and talk sports with you anytime you want to. You send me the invite. If I'm not out coaching, I'll be here. So just the fact that sports can bring people together. I know it gets a bad rap and a lot of nonsense. I would assume all 4 people on this call right now played sports and still to this day carry lessons that you learn from that time every single day of your life. There's a lot of garbage going on in the world. There's a lot of divisiveness going on in the world and in our country. But you know what? For some strange reason, we get on and we talk sports and we go, hey, I love the point that you just made. I love the point that Demetrius made, saying, hey, you are worth what you get paid. He's 1,000% correct. I love the point that Bill made about females not getting appreciated. I coached high school basketball for nearly 20 years, and I switched after about 15, and I coach girls. I'd always coach guys. You want to talk about not getting respect? Go to your local high school and watch the difference in what the girls get from what the boys get. And that's just from what I've seen firsthand. But hey, the fact that sports brings us together, different backgrounds, different walk of life, I love that. That's what I love sports. That is the biggest thing I love sports. And thank you guys so much for having me. Genuinely, I appreciate it. I'll be here whenever you need me.
Awesome.
All right, well, guys.
I'm going to extend to you real quick. So I live in the world of drafts right now. So if you ever want to do a Broncos mock draft with me, you have a standing invitation. Shoot me your information some kind of way. James or Sherry, whatever, somehow. And then Demetrius, so now you're back. We're going to do this weekend.
Yeah. You send me a time, I'm in. Talking Lions draft, please. I do it anytime.
Yeah.
Well, you guys all have, thanks to the email that I sent you, you all have each other's email address, so you can always contact each other. But we're building up a little team here, guys, and we're always looking, to talk sports, and I love looking forward to my Thursday nights. In spite of the fact that my Steelers just re-signed Ben Roethlisberger.
But Mr. Carroll called it. I'm gonna need half of your hat. That's exactly what we said. He went Colonel Robert Parker.
We're in this together, Grant. We're gonna do everything, and then I'm gonna cut this in half. Then you back half of your hat.
Yeah, I'm gonna need half of your hat. Right, exactly. They Colonel Robert Parkered him just like Bill said they would.
Right, just like those deals that Elvis would sign with Colonel Todd Parker. Exactly. We're gonna split everything half and half, and then I get half of your hat.
And Mr. King, I want to personally thank you. You put this together. You're the captain. You made all this happen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And this is great, man. Like I said, I've made friends, and I feel like I got some tight guys. We can talk sports anytime, and I'll probably have things outside of the podcast that I enjoy with these gentlemen. And you brought it all together. You made it possible. So
thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you guys for accepting the invitations. And Bill, you're kind of my seasoned veteran here tonight. So, always thanks to Bill. And one thing about, if you guys haven't learned it yet, Bill can talk. So, yeah.
but he knows his stuff.
I mean,
So
if I weren't willing to talk, what good would I be to you, Jay? I mean, I'm not that handsome, so I better be able to talk.
All right, guys, well, let's get up out of here, man. I'll see you all next Thursday night.
All right, fellas, have a good night.
Clint, I'm going to send you an email, and Demetrius, we're just going to work out our timing.
Yep, exactly. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
See you next week.
Good night.